that no matter how much you work for these people, Mr. Speaker, and particularly when you are doing the wrong thing, Mr. Speaker, it will never lead to any reward. We had a lot of altercation with Senator Kang'Ata in these chambers in the Division of Revenue debate, among others. But Mr. Speaker, I am a Democrat. I'm a person who believes in, Mr. Speaker, doing things right. And it doesn't matter that it was done wrong for me. I still believe that Senator Kang'Ata should have been treated differently. He should have been given fair hearing. He should have, Mr. Speaker, Jubilee side should have entertained, Mr. Speaker, alternative view, particularly when you are talking about a matter that is so important as BBI, or as we are told is an important matter that is supposed to build bridges. Mr. Speaker, Senator Wamatangi, who is coming in, is my friend. When I went to get myself a wife, Mr. Speaker, and to negotiate dowry, it was Senator Kang'Ata, Wamatangi was on the other side with the elders. And he harassed me, Mr. Speaker. He really harassed me. At that time, both of us were not senators. Later, we were lucky to come here together in 2013 as senators. We've been good friends. Senator Wamatangi has been a very measured man in his utterances and performance and actions. He comes from a county that is largely a hustler nation in Kiambu County. I want to give him just a small piece of advice, although I'm not that qualified considering his past role, that Mr. Speaker, he must treat all of us, particularly on the majority side, fairly and equally. He must also measure his words and utterances, Mr. Speaker. He must share opportunities. I don't want to give the details of those opportunities on this side, Mr. Speaker, fairly. But most importantly, he must now realize that antagonism doesn't pay and find a way of ensuring that Jubilee is more united. We do not want to come back here with those nonsense of respect to the president and disrespect to the deputy president. Or, Mr. Speaker, this idea that you insult senators and tell them, you know, because you are criticizing a policy of government that is against devolution, you start telling people they are going to be de-whipped or be removed. He must not prosecute any senator, like Kang'Ata did prosecute 5 senators, Mr. Speaker, in the last term. And so I asked Senator Kang'Ata Wamatangi to work so carefully, because this can easily turn to be a hanging rope, particularly in your political career, because you are taking position at a time that is insinuated, can easily be understood to mean you are going against the popular view of your people in Kiambu. I want you to be re-elected again. Please tread carefully, work with Hustler Nation, and your future is secured. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, I want to further add my voice to this issue as a member, as an interested member from the majority side of these changes that are continuously becoming regular. At every now and then, it's become like a musical chair to be a leader in this house. On this side of the house, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, it will, the only point of concern for me is that as legislators, perhaps it is time we had a discussion on how, in our handling of the Political Parties Act, and we had great debate here last time, Mr. Speaker, that act was brought before this house, I think in 2016 or 2017, that we give ourselves a bit more of power, with the exception of Senator Moses Wetangula, who's a party leader. I don't see anyone else who's a party leader here. But it is increasingly becoming clear that if you're a legislator elected on a political party, if it gets to a point where you disagree, sometimes out of good principle and out of values that clash between what the party leader is pursuing and the people that you represent, you serve at a very precarious position. So therefore, we need to find a common ground discussion where Parliament is insulated, sort of, from the whims of politics that is sometimes not very useful to the business of this House. How, for example, Mr. Speaker, do you expect a member of a political party to oversight the executive if any form of criticism against a government policy is considered disrespect to the party leader? And that is something that in these days I see the majority and the minority side struggle. It is not time that we criticize each other, Mr. Speaker, because I have seen on many occasions members cast their votes without even debating, because they know deep down they don't believe the things that their parties are asking them to do. And all of us have been victims of all those. So now that we have gone beyond the face of finger pointing and saying, oh, you have done this, we've done this, can we have a honest conversation as legislators? How is it that we shall ensure that our responsibility as enshrined under Article 96 of our Constitution, that you are able to legislate, you are able to oversight the executive, and you are able to represent your people without having to look back? Party leaders should learn the habit of realizing that when you move around in a county, you do not have a mechanism for which you can establish, say, for Senator Irungu Kang'ata perhaps, how many people voted for Jubilee as a party and supported him and not the president, or the president and not him. It's not easy to measure. And it is a wrong assumption to believe that since somebody is going for a higher seat, then all of us benefited out of his influence in certain regions. It's a very serious and candid conversation which I want to believe that in the next few days, perhaps Justice and Legal Affairs Committee needs to lead us, so that even when it comes to the matter of determining parliamentary party leadership, we are in the days of BBI. I don't know whether it will live to see the light of the day, but should it live to see the light of the day, Mr. Speaker, and become a reality, where we become a house of 94 members, say for Senate, for example, Mr. Speaker, you may find that there will be fragments of small parties that have 20, 15, 30 membership. How will we determine leadership positions? How will we determine committee chairmanship? Yet you know that in the two houses of parliament that have existed post the current constitution, Mr. Speaker, it has been simple because we've always had a contest between two coalitions, sort of. But when you get to a point where there will be 3 or 4 more coalitions, even deciding house leadership will become something quite chaotic. And therefore, I propose, Mr. Speaker, that let us, as members of parliament, party leaders don't legislate in this house. How can we legislate and give them power for them to abuse the way it is being abused in this current session of parliament? Let us give ourselves that power so that we sit here, you canvass, you talk to your colleagues. If they believe that you warrant to be their majority whip, deputy whip, majority leader, and any other position, chairman of a parliamentary committee, they will grant you that position. So that this business of people sitting at a particular hotel and determining. You know, I watched yesterday in bewilderment as the Secretary General of Jubilee saying we have decided. And you wonder, parliamentary leadership is a decision of I, as a member of Jubilee Party. It is us as a coalition who sit as members elected in this house and decide who becomes. By the way, as way of democracy, we have no problem. When you later on table the documents as has been requested by Leader of Majority Kipchumba Murkomen, then we will get to know who supported, who did not support. That is democracy, Mr. Speaker. But what I find to be an insult to us as leaders, and it's something that we have allowed to be perpetuated for long, is this issue where a small group of mandarins sit somewhere and just read out a press conference and say, from today, Senator Mutula Kilonzo ceases to be this or that. It's very unfortunate. So I plead with my colleagues that at some point, let us have this candid discussion about how do we ensure that we as members of parliament determine leadership in this house without the intricacies of party leadership. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, those who are following, try to keep it brief so that it's just a communication. Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. Of course, we can't get into the details of what happened on the other side because we don't participate. Only that, of course, we congratulate Kimani Wamatangi, Senator Kiambu, for his new position. I'm happy because now he's going to be in the House more often. He's going to suffer the woes of mobilizing members to vote for bills, like we did for his when he used to run away. So now you feel the pain of sitting here to get 24. For Kang'Ata, he became a doctor while he was a whip. He became a CBS while he's a whip. He has left. I don't know, maybe I should advise Kimani Wamatangi to carry the name tag on his door in his pocket as opposed to at the door. But the things that both Senator Cheruiyot and Senator Chumba Murkomen have raised, we raised them here. When the amendment to the Political Parties Act was done by Senator Kiraitu Murungi, then seated where the majority leader is seated, I thought from the Legal Affairs Committee that there was a problem with the way the merger was done. And of course I was opposed. One of the people who opposed was Senator, who told me to drop that amendment because I had proposed an amendment, was Senator of Mombasa at the time. He told me, why don't you allow Jubilee to merge? Because this is the only way that you will break Jubilee. Now, at that time it was meant sarcastically. Right now, one of the governors is suffering out of the Security Laws Amendment Bill, which we opposed, in terms of just detention unnecessarily for too long. So whilst you are feeling the pain of some of the decisions that have been made, it's just advised that some of the things that we raise on the floor, even if we are for the minority side, and you can see how stable we are. You were laughing at us at some point. You can see how stable we are. It's not like we don't have our share of problems, but we know how to manage them. So please don't write letters or speak candidly to the press. Just find a way of how you handle your political party affairs in a better fashion. I don't think there is a way that Senator Cheruiyot is suggesting that political parties can be managed on the floor of the Senate. It is just not possible. Now, in other jurisdictions, in fact, the minute you vote against your political party decision, you are deemed to have defected. We are even better off, where you can disagree with your political party, form a political party within your political party, wear a t-shirt of another political party, and exist in that political party without defecting. It's only in Kenya where people can do that and walk around and say, well, I have the liberty to do so. We have abused the political party's rights of being in a political party under Article 38. Because if you disagree with your political party and ideals and your party leaders, it's also democracy to leave. But you can't be in both. You're in, you're out, you're in the middle, you are doing pamoja, you're in a wheelbarrow. It can't happen. It's just not possible. And it's not legal, and it's not moral, and it's not godly. Thank you.
Senator Linturi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I don't think Senator Mutula is being very honest, because he's giving examples to us which, in my view, are not really relevant at the time. Then in developed democracies, I would agree with him. The development of democracy in Kenya is still evolving. The aspect of political parties and the place that they're supposed to sit in the development of our country's political system and democracy is completely different. And that's why I don't really want to agree with him. Because, Mr. Speaker, we've adopted a cut and paste kind of system when we are making legislations without really understanding that some of those issues that we pick from certain countries may not be able to fit in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I want to give an example. When we came up with the Political Parties Act, Senator Mutula, the Act of 2011, because I've been around long enough as a member of parliament when we passed that legislation. And I remember very well section, I think 24 or 25, where we came up with the aspect of funding of political parties. We said political parties will be funded from the exchequer, from public funds. And the reasoning was we want them to run away from that old system where KANU or political parties belonged to individuals. So we said they will be funded from public coffers so that they can be owned by all the citizens. And we would expect the leaders of political parties to be more civilized than they are today, because they have taken that advantage of the trust that we earned in them to completely make these political parties as tools of dictatorship. And this is why we are suffering. And Mr. Speaker, if we do not rise up as a parliament and raise these issues and see how we can inform changes to certain legislations, then parliamentary democracy is attacked,
The oversight role of Parliament is under attack because even Mr. Speaker, when the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act was passed, was to enable us to speak out our mind here, criticize government, say anything with when you have that immunity, so that at least you do not watch over your shoulder when you are discussing matters or contributing on matters that relate to issues that pertain to the public. This is not happening, Mr. Speaker, because now members of Parliament are afraid of raising issues because the next day, the agencies of oppression that are being used by the current system of government is KRI, is the DCI, is the EACC. So members are not free. And if we do not, Mr. Speaker, see how to address these issues, we have a problem as a Parliament. And time has come when we must rise up to the new realities of life and understand that, yes, it is true. We are Democrats. I attended that meeting that we were talking about yesterday. The person who was trying to lecture us is a Secretary General who serves as the MBS of the President. We are not subject, we do not serve at the pleasure of the President as senators. We recognize the leadership of the Senate as a leadership of the Senate that is supposed to be put in place by the senators. But when someone do what we've never seen, a chairman of a party, a Secretary General, who does not even, first of all, address the issues that we have raised before. And we conduct a meeting, Mr. Speaker, and whether it's necessary for you to ask to table the documents that were sent here, and we find ourselves to be 24 in the room. And when we are 24, 10 of the members are saying, no, we are not signing the resolution. We don't agree with it. And then we are told a list was brought here. How could you have been signing a resolution in a meeting that you never attended? Mr. Speaker, let us, Parliament is supposed to act or to be seen to be open, and one of the ways of trying to open Parliament to the public is by the way what we did when Marenda was Speaker, and made sure that all proceedings were done live and were public would attend. So in this case, Mr. Speaker, kindly let us know who came here, who attended, who signed these documents for purposes of record. I think when history is being written, then people will know some of us saying the truth, and despite the oppression and the threats and the intimidation and the blackmail, there are people that can stand up by the truth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wetangula.
Mr. Speaker, we're living in very interesting times. When you see the majority leader, the distinguished senator for West Pokot, sitting quietly there, is out of experience. He once walked to Parliament, attended sittings, and the next day, he was not a member of Parliament. Out of a PG. Him and my great late friend, Francis Loile Polisi Lotodo, were just labeled as carrying out warlike activities without evidence, and were dismissed from Parliament. We've come a long way, Mr. Speaker, and today, the political landscape of Kenya is a helter-skelter. It's like the Tower of Babel in the Bible. Nobody hands over what he's been asked to hand over. You ask for a spade, you give a brick. You ask for sand, you give cement. And it's going on and on and on. It is only in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, where people are elected on a party, take a totally different trajectory, and enjoy the perks of that party. And nothing happens. You know, if we do not have party discipline in this country, we can as well say bye to democracy. Love him or hate him. When Raila Odinga disagreed with Michael Wamalwa Kijana in the party I lead, Ford Kenya, he reconsidered his position, resigned, and went back to Kibra, then called Lang'ata, and sought a new mandate with a party called, was it LDP or NDP? NDP. Today, Mr. Speaker, We don't have any single politician in this country with that courage. People want to enjoy the comfort of the day and the night at the same time. It can't work, and it will not work. So I want to urge you members, tomorrow, my good friend Senator Murkomen, you will be a party leader. In fact, I can see you are really struggling to be the heir apparent to Ruto's position in the community. And when you get there, just know that discipline, said Shakespeare, is the key to everything. Even robbers must be disciplined to succeed. If they are not, they will not succeed. And I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, I want us to take a new curve in the management of political affairs in this country. It's only in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, where you coalesce together as parties. The Constitution provides for a fund for parties, and one dominant party takes the money and tells the others, when Wiper asks for its money, Ford Kenya asks, and ANC asks, an upstart young man in the party tells us that our parties are ticks, leeches, and parasites. Mr. Speaker, that our parties are ticks, leeches, and parasites on the back of their party. That is the height of infamy, Mr. Speaker. And it is tolerated. So I want, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate Senator Wamatangi. I believe that his new position will give him a reasonably enhanced level of tolerance to debate in the House, because he's been previously one of those, whenever you talk about government, he behaves as if he's being electrocuted. You know, he's just busy jumping, you know. But now, Mr. Speaker, he's taken a position of responsibility, and I have no doubt that he's a well-schooled man and will adjust to the circumstances. To my friend Kang'Ata'S, now you have time to laugh in the corridors as loudly. As loudly as you can, without carrying anybody's responsibility on the floor of this House. And Mr. Speaker, as I finish, on a serious note, if we do not instill discipline and decorum in our parties, we can as well say bye-bye to multi-party democracy. If we don't, the pretense that because you belong to a different party, therefore there's democracy, is a fallacious. Let's have discipline. Let's have candor. Let's have commitment. Let's have respect, self-respect and respect for the public, and respect for institutions. And above all, let the leaderships of parties also respect and uphold freedom of expression as enshrined in the Constitution. Thank you.
Senator Bogisho.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me begin by thanking those who have spoken on this matter, and to thank the House for the messages of encouragement that have come to this House about how we should all be disciplined and how we should uphold democracy. And those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And Mr. Speaker, let me just use this opportunity to congratulate the new Majority Whip on behalf of our side. Congratulations, Senator of Kiambu, Senator Wamatangi. You are now responsible for making sure that the House is in order and that the fact that members on our side and the other sides, you work together to be sure that we can put together order in this House. Speaker, Senator Kang'Ata, who is leaving, came to the leadership with me the same day. And as somebody has said the other day, somebody was saying yesterday, Mr. Speaker, to Kang'Ata, that now that Kang'Ata is gone, even anybody else, in Swahili they say, if you see somebody being shaved, even your own begin to put water on your hair. Mr. Speaker, it's all about how we are trained, and I think that we are all trained differently. I have experience in these matters, as you have heard, Mr. Speaker. I have withstood the storm of politics many times, and therefore I'm ready. I was thinking yesterday Kang'Ata should have listened to himself and allowed himself to think, but he was misled by a group of people and into thinking that there is security in these things, Mr. Speaker. When he was asked by the party to come and talk, Mr. Speaker, as you know, he then was misled again not to go to the party. And so these are some of the things which I say, you must also weigh, if you're going to mislead somebody, that you know you have caused their problems. Mr. Kang'Ata, Dr. Kang'Ata, as we know him, Speaker, did his job well. And I tell you, until recently, he did his job for this side very well. And so I want to congratulate him as well and wish him well. The good thing about this leadership is that if you are elected, you are actually not going anywhere. You are still the senator for a place. And so I don't think it should really be like a downgrade to come back as a backbencher. It is okay. I just want him to understand that he can still work on the same side, keeping the same courage that he has, and continue to say the things that he wanted to say, only that he will not now be able to lead in this side. Our new man in the block now, the new guy on the block, or the new whip, is also a very seasoned politician. We know him, and he represents a very large community. And so he knows, and he comes from this area generally, including this city. He's very well established in this city. But the thing that we have spoken to him about, how to bring people together, I'm sure he's very vast with that. So on behalf of the leadership, Mr. Speaker, the Jubilee leadership and also the minority leadership, we want to welcome Honorable Wamatangi on board and say we will give our best support to him and encourage him. He is going to be running. You'll just come straight away to work he has already started work today. In fact, he should find his rightful seat and begin to occupy it so that he begins work immediately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to encourage members that we all have our interests. We work together across the aisle. We must just begin to see how we bring order in this House. Let's respect each other. Mostly, let's try and respect our chair, the Speaker, and each other during debates. And I think that we can actually show that this Senate is a higher house, upper house in this country. I want to thank you, and God bless.
Senator Rose Nyamunga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity just to add one or two comments on it. First of all, we must appreciate the fact that we are here courtesy of our different parties that have given us opportunity to serve in this House for a certain time, whether you are elected directly or elected by the party, like some of us. Mr. Speaker, I believe that there are institutions, and all institutions must have their rules that guide them and regulations. Mr. Speaker, even in the smallest unit, which is the family, and taking mine as an example, my family is an institution, and it is run by rules and regulations. There are sometimes some things you cannot do in my house because you'll be told, Mama alisema, meaning there are some things that cannot be done. And that is just a small unit, the smallest. Then we have the government. Then we have the parliament. It's a big institution. The parties that make us come to this parliament. In my view, all of us are members, and all of us can serve in any capacity. But if you serve to represent a party, it is critical. Like, look at ODM. ODM as a party. You can say anything. You can use any word on us. You can demean us in any form. But we are so steadfast in how we do our business, how we support our things, that we don't have issues. We will have issues with other parties, but within ODM, we are so steadfast and behind our leader. And I think that is why we are the longest serving party in Kenya and the biggest party in Kenya as far as this dispensation is concerned. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge my brothers and sisters that I cannot sit here and say that I am a member, but I can't obey. I can't obey our own rules. So before we point so many things, Mr. Kang'Ata, I don't have any problem with Mr. Kang'Ata. And a few times, I think he made, Senator Kang'Ata, I think sometimes he made some statements that to me were just off. And you wondered which side of the house he was, whether he was acting for his party, acting for himself. And to me, I had a problem with that. And I'm allowed to speak to speak my mind, because that's what I observed. And I don't think he was serving the party in the best way possible. So if the party has decided that they replace him, that is not a discussion for us in this house. The speaker has made a ruling, let it to be, and we move forward. That is the problem of Jubilee. They can do it. Senator Wetangula also is putting his house in order. So everybody is putting their house in order. I think even him, yes, of late there are people who have seen the door or planning or about to see the door. It's in the process. He may ask some of us, we show him the best way and the easiest way how to do it. Senator, you can consult some of us. We will help. So I want to thank Senator Wamatangi, the senator for Kiambu. He is equal to the task, and he's going to do his work. We believe that he's going to be fair. Those people, your side is already crying. They should not cry, because from where I sit, I know that you know your work and you will be very rational in the way you do things and look at debates. We don't want to be a house or a senior house, but the way we carry out ourselves, we should be able to disagree, even in our debates, but in a good way, in a proper manner. We should not be shouting at each other. I think we are letting ourselves down, and sometimes we let this country down. So as senators, I just want to urge you that even as we start this year, please let us think and know that we are representing Kenya. We are representing so many people, 47 million Kenyans. And wherever they are and watching us all the time, let us show that we are people of decorum and we can disagree, but in a manner that respects this house. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate Senator for Kiambu.
Okay, I'm only going to allow one. Senator Sakaja.
Mr. Speaker, I join colleagues in congratulating the new Majority Whip, Senator Wamatangi, for his election as the new Whip of Jubilee. And Mr. Speaker, I fully associate myself with the sentiments that other members have made with respect to political parties. I thank Senator Kang'Ata for the work he has done. Senator Kang'Ata is a very jovial and well-intentioned man. And Mr. Speaker, I think for the short stint he has had, he's been able to really, try the best that he could have done in that position of majority whip. Mr. Speaker, I am not more experienced than more. Mr. Speaker, there are members around me who are, I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
They want me to be.
Consult in low tones.
Mr. Speaker, what I was saying is that in the short stint that he has served, Senator Kang'Ata has tried his best. We may not have agreed in his methods sometimes, but I think he's benefited from, being able to speak to every individual whenever we had issues where we didn't agree. And because of that, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to encourage Senator Wamatangi to caucus. What we've seen in the past year and further is that what works in this house, because we're a small house, but persuasion, consultation, and respect will always trump kifua. It will always trump, intimidation. Because people here, there are no children in this house. And so there are caucus rooms. Whenever there's an issue, and Senator Wamatangi, you remember I was your chair of a party, bring people together. Party position is never the opinion of an individual. The party position will never be Wamatangi's opinion, or Senator Pogisho's opinion, or even the president's opinion. A party position in an established democracy is where you sit as members, discuss an issue. And once the issue has been discussed, then you have political responsibility to stick to what the majority have agreed or what the party has agreed on. And I think we would like to encourage, because we want to pledge to support the work that you're going to do. Finally, I think it's almost unfortunately poetic that the same words that Senator Kang'Ata used in removing Senator Kihika are the same ones he was trying to use yesterday. Mr. Speaker, I consulted the Hansard because he was asking for the charges. He was asking for what was the reason of his removal. Mr. Speaker, if you look at our Hansard on the 22nd of May, Senator Kang'Ata said that, Mr. Speaker, Professor Kindiki told me he would want a written document from the party. However, to me, that is neither here nor there. When the party was appointing or supporting him for that position, he did not give him a letter. Jubilee Party did not frame any reason as to why they gave him that position. It was an issue of confidence. So, Mr. Speaker, as we go ahead, and even in your position, Senator Wamatangi and Pogisho, be careful. What you do will be done to you. And things change. And when you make any rules or any moves, just assume that your worst enemy is in the position to do the same to you. So be gracious and be kind. So I hope
Let's consult in low tones, order senators.
I hope Senator Pogisho has heard, because he's the one who told us about putting water on the head. Just be very careful, because you might be shaved. We hope not. We like your leadership. But be gentle, and never, ever, in politics, Mr. Speaker, the small politics I've done at my young age, never, ever burn a bridge. Don't burn bridges. You might need to walk back in the path that you've come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations, Senator Wamatangi. We will support you.
Senator Lokorio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to
order behind there. Consult in low tones. I hope it's not the caucus you are talking about. Yes, Senator Lokorio.
Thank you. I also want to join my colleagues in congratulating Senator Wamatangi on his new election or appointment as the Majority Whip. Having congratulated him, I would also like to thank Senator Kang'Ata for the time he has served as Majority Whip. He did his best in the short time, whipped members to pass government agenda in this house, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. Mr. Speaker, I want to comment something on what people have been saying about owners of political parties. In the law, which is the Political Parties Act, and even in the Constitution, political parties belong to members. And that is why there was that provision for political party funding, so that parties don't belong to individuals. However, Mr. Speaker, whereas the law had indicated that parties to meet the threshold for funding need at least 2%.
Let's consult in low order, senators. Let's consult in low tones. Okay.
Need at least 22% of the vote, 5 MPs, and at least or 20 MCAs. These same members of parliament changed that law, and it was during when it was Jubilee, TNA and URP. They changed this law and made it impossible for other parties to be funded. Changed the law, moved it from 2% to 5%, from 5 MPs to 20 MPs, and from 20 MCAs to 40 MCAs. And they changed the law not just either or, but that you must have 5% and 20 MPs and 40 MCAs. So, Mr. Speaker, it became difficult for other political parties to get funding and therefore to be true owners of the party to go to members. So even as we are here changing the electoral laws, and very soon we are going to make changes to electoral laws.
There's a lot of discussion, loud discussions, please.
Yeah, I'm winding up, Mr. Speaker. There's going to be a change of electoral laws or review of electoral laws in the coming days. Let us be careful as we make those changes that some of those changes will come back to bite us. So let's make laws that are for everybody, even your worst enemy, because it will come back one day to bite us. And the change on political party funding law has come to bite some of you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Farhia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to contribute to this issue, their communication. Mr. Speaker, I agree with everybody that we have to be nice to each other. Right now, we have so many bills that were returned from National Assembly, and we need everybody to pass those laws, because some of those laws are our own laws as individuals in this House. So unless we cooperate with each other, we might not have, the bill that you have worked so hard to ensure that it is done, it just goes down the drain for nothing. So I think party issues are party issues, but in terms of individuals, let's be human beings at the end of the day before anything else. And then the other thing, Mr. Speaker, is it is natural that if somebody trusted you with a responsibility, make sure at least you provide, you provide enough loyalty for that person because they have trusted you first. Then you have to return that trust back to that person. That is just common sense. It doesn't need any law or any other ideas. Mr. Speaker, and of late, we've been having a lot of political rhetoric in this country. Mr. Speaker, people talk, citizens listen to leaders. We have to be very careful how we address our citizens, Mr. Speaker. Today, you might have, a goal to ensure that you achieve certain political leverage. But at the end of the day, if you are fighting to be the president in 2022, think if you will have still a country in 2022. I think that is a priority that everybody needs to think. And we need to think also, Mr. Speaker, that some of us don't have any other country to go to. We all belong to this country. And at all costs, we must protect this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let us not let down our citizens who have entrusted us with position on whose platform you can say all the bad things that you always say because they entrusted you. Please return that trust so that you are in a position to speak about the good things. Because at the end of the day, we are all Kenyans. Nobody is more Kenyan than the other. And at the end of the day, in 2022, Kenyans are intelligent enough to elect their choice, depending on what you say, Mr. Speaker. So okay. For me, the biggest battle in this country that will make a difference to the lives of the poor and everyone, including me and you, Mr. Speaker, is to fight corruption. Because that is the thing that drains the coffers of this country, Mr. Speaker. And that, therefore, take services to the poor and as well as money in their pocket, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to congratulate Senator Wamatangi for a well-deserved win. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, Senator Wamatangi is a diplomat. Even the way he engages you, he's very diplomatic in terms of how he handles his issues. Mr. Speaker, other than the revenue, but the rest of it is very diplomatic. So I have no doubt in my mind that he will bring cohesion, and I'm glad that I will be serving with him as his deputy. So I am sure things will move in this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, order, senators. Let me give this opportunity to Senator Kimani Wamatangi.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on such an occasion, first I want to confess that I had not prepared an acceptance speech. But, Mr. Speaker, be that as it may, first I want to take the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank all the senators. First, for all the goodwill messages that have been conveyed here by members of the Senate from both sides, Mr. Speaker, in the words that they've uttered this afternoon. I also want to thank, Mr. Speaker, the senators who, with me yesterday in our discussions in our PG, also showed their confidence, Mr. Speaker, that I can serve alongside with them. I want to confirm to members of this House, Mr. Speaker, that I am under no illusion at all that the job that I have been asked to do for the Senate, Mr. Speaker, is not an easy one. Mr. Speaker, though it is not easy, I have also clarity of mind on what I need to do and what I don't need to do. And I would want to draw that from the experience I've had, Mr. Speaker, from the year 2013, when I was first elected to be a sitting senator in this House. And Mr. Speaker, it is my belief, firmly, that for any feather that is added to your hat, it should only make you a better person and bring out the best version of yourself. And in so doing, Mr. Speaker, I realize fully that in the course of my work, building consensus with members of the Senate, finding agreement all the time, and ensuring that we walk the journey together is the best way forward for us to be able to prosecute our business, Mr. Speaker. I want to confirm and assure my colleagues, like Senator Murkomen, I don't know whether he's still in the House. Mr. Speaker, Senator Murkomen is indeed, as he said, my son. I gave him a wife, so I sat in the place of his father-in-law. And it is not in the place of a father to hurt a son. So wherever he is, I want to be rest assured that I will be modest. Mr. Speaker, because I don't want to make this a lengthy speech, I just want to summarize by assuring members of the Senate from both sides of the House that I will seek to build consensus all the time, consult with my colleagues. And Mr. Speaker, I am fully aware that this House that we have been in since that time requires not only to project a better and its best image, Mr. Speaker, but we have to ensure that we earn the respect of the country, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that what we say, what we do, will bring out that picture. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I also understand what the role of the whip is, Mr. Speaker. It is not to divide people. It is not to rejoice in the suffering of other members, Mr. Speaker. It is to ensure that this House passes laws that are good for the country, Mr. Speaker. It is to ensure that this House amends laws which require amendment to become better laws, Mr. Speaker, and to reject laws that are not good for the country, while doing that together as one, Mr. Speaker. And so that is what I will seek to do. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank you, and I'm sure that in my new role, as we work together in leadership, and the rest of the leadership of the Senate, Mr. Speaker, that we shall eventually come out better people. I will not be carrying my name tag in my pocket, Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. I'll hang it on the wall, but the wall of my heart, to ensure that the day when I exit that position, that people can only say that I did my best and did well. To my friend Senator Wetangula, I hear you, and I hear your advice. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Senator Wetangula that maybe any one time when he may have seen that I was acting as though I'm electrocuted, or being electrocuted. Sometimes it's the fervor, it is the fire that burns inside you, because as Abraham Lincoln said many years ago, Mr. Speaker, it is our belief that a government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish on earth. And so every time when you saw that I was agitated about something about government. It's because I believe it's about the people. That's how we are going to move Senator Etangula. And I want to assure you that you can expect from me that I'll be not only fair, but right, Mr. Speaker. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to accept and thank all the members of this House. I'll do my best to make sure that we have got a Senate that is respected, Mr. Speaker, that passes good laws, and Mr. Speaker, one that is more united than when we came in. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable senators. A few requests were made to the Speaker, and the documents that were presented to me are not confidential. These documents that can be seen. So they will be available for those who want to see. As you know, the Speaker does not belong to any political party. I only convey what have been given by the leaders of the various political parties. Whether they held meetings or not, that is not my business. My business is I trust that what I'm brought by the leadership is a true record of what exactly happened. So thank you for your contributions, and next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, 10th December 2020. Number 1, biannual report of the Commission on Administrative Justice for the period January to June 2020. Number 2, annual report of the National Gender and Equality Commission for the year 2018-2019. Number 3, report of the Council of Governors statutory report for the year 2019-2020. Number 4, report of the National Government Budget Implementation Review for the first quarters for the financial year 2020-21. 5, report of the County Government's Budget Implementation Review for the financial year 2020-21. 6, special report of Auditor General on utilization of the COVID-19 funds by the county government. 7, special report of the Auditor General on financial operations of the Bomet County Executive for the financial year 2015-2016. 8, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Turkana for the year ended 30th June 2019. 9, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Turkana for the year ended 30th June 2019. 10, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Migori County Assembly for the year ended 30th June 2019. 11, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of Migori County Executive for the year ended 30th June 2019. 12, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Kisumu for the year ended 30th June 2019. 13, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Kisumu for the year ended 30th June 2019. 14, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Wajir for the year ended 30th June 2019. And finally, report of Auditor General on the financial statement of Wajir County Executive for the year ended 30th June 2019. I thank you, Mr.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Senator Milgo. Your mic is off.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. this was a motion on establishment of daycare centers in the counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, this motion was going on the premise that researchers, which is it? I've already given a notice to this one.
Give a notice of motion. Huh? Let's.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'm giving notice of the motion on development of daycare policy in the counties and Department of Basic Education. That aware that Constitution of Kenya, Article 53, affirms that children have basic rights, including the right to education, nutrition, shelter, healthcare, and parental care, provisions that are aligned with those cited in both the Convention on the Rights of the Child and the Africa Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, to which Kenya is a signatory. Concerned that the current status of daycare facilities in the country are not child-friendly or habitable, and there is need to bridge this gap to capture the playgroup class in the new 26333 curriculum that is replacing the 2-year-old 844 system. Acknowledging that most working parents lack quality daycare facilities, as the playgroup is a safe place for them to take their children while they are at work. Now, therefore, the Senate urges that the Council of Governors, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, ensure that, 1, counties allocate at least 10% of their budget on early childhood development education, ECDE, towards the vulnerable group, and 2, policies developed to incorporate the needs of children who are less than 3 years of age. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kasanga. Seemingly she's not in. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Senator Dr. Mbito.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on an issue of topical concern, namely the need to check the quality of salt in the market. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kenya is one of the countries where people are unknowingly consuming some good amount of microplastics in table salt, according to a study. This is worrying given the widespread and high consumption of salt locally, and considering that the WHO recommends a daily consumption of at least 5 grams by adults. Mr. Speaker, sir, the study by the University of Queensland, Australia, and the Federal University of Technology, Nigeria, further shows that also affected could be seafood, which still finds its way to our tables. While this is the first time a study is confirming the presence of plastic in table salt used in Kenya, it should come as an eye-opener on how we should dispose plastics and also take care of the environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, indiscriminate use of plastic, haphazard disposal, and dangers these pose prompted the government to impose a ban on single-use plastics in 2017. We are not out of the woods yet, and everyone has a part to play. While the ban has been largely effective, some plastics still find its way into the market due to laxity by law enforcers. Mr. Speaker, sir, the alarming development with an estimated 8 million tons of plastic ending up in the oceans globally is it is most likely that some of it will contaminate the salt when it is harvested. The presence of plastic in salt can either cause physical damage to the body or result in chemical poisoning. Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Environmental Management Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards should fight this threat by executing their duties diligently to ensure that Kenyans are safe. They are the bulwark against environmental degradation and poisonous substances getting into our tables. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I don't see any interest. Senator Ouster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 to make a statement on the ongoing demolition of properties and evictions in Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, traders and families in Kisumu County have for the last 6 months gone through horrendous moments. This follows continuous and unplanned demolition of houses, places of worship, and businesses structured by the county government of Kisumu and Kenya Railways. The demolition has stretched from Koru, Muhoroni, Kibos, Kibuye, Juakali, Otonglo, and Lela in Kisumu West. Locals are really crying for their lost investment. The current county government, as I know, and I was one of them, was voted in the office to provide the environment for the business to thrive. But instead, they have gone wild on the people who have voted them, but destroying their livelihood without providing alternative. The people of Kisumu, Mr. Speaker, are not against development being initiated by the county or the national government. They are instead calling for structured dialogue towards the implementation of such projects, which will ultimately benefit them. There are, however, standard and guidelines on how to effect evictions. Both the Kisumu County government and Kenya Railways have failed to adhere to. The two entities failed to work on a resettlement action plan, and we would request that when they are destroying these houses and properties, they must follow the rules and regulations. Mr. Speaker, the right of members of the Nubian community, this is a community that has been living in Kisumu for many years, their rights were ignored as bulldozers one night descended on their houses in the middle of the night, leading to the loss of lives, livelihood, and property. As a consequence, they are undergoing untold suffering. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, that's why today I stand here to ask you, Mr. Speaker, Shah, to commit this matter to the relevant committees, more than maybe one. What we have seen in the last 6 months or in the last few days is like the Kisumu County and the Kenya Railway, they're on the spree. Mr. Speaker, the livelihoods of the innocent one, the small business people in Kisumu, they have suffered under the hands of the people who they elected to be their leaders. Today, we can count, Mr. Speaker, over 15,000 small businesses have got no place to do business in Kisumu because the county government, under the leadership of Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, have decided that they wanted to build Europe and ignore the plea of people during this difficult time of COVID. And we have seen the small business like Mama Mboga, they have got no place to go. But more so, they have gone to the places of worship, like the churches were brought down with no plans, and they do not even have funds. And of late, I've had calls from across this nation, from the Muslim community.
Senator, you need to conclude. You're now debating a statement.
Where they have really destroyed a mosque that has been there for over 60 years. And there's no any alternative. That's why, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, this is a matter of urgent, and we need you, Mr. Speaker, to form this committee to move on the ground as a matter of urgency and a national importance. And I thank you.
Senator Nyamunga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity just to make a few comments on the statement that has been brought forward by my colleague, the Senator for Kisumu County. Mr. Speaker, nobody is in dispute the fact that Kisumu should be developed. Nobody is in dispute the development of Kisumu. That is the desire of everybody. I think not only people from that region, but all over this nation, because we want to be seen to be progressing. Nairobi has come a long way. Even in Nairobi, we used to have the traders all over in the streets. But I remember during the time of Gakuo, he's the one who cleaned up Nairobi. But the way it was done, he was not bringing down buildings. The people who Gakuo fought to remove from the city, the CBD of Nairobi, were people who are coming and doing business in the city center, on the streets. But Mr. Speaker, the state in Kisumu is very unfortunate, because for years, these people had been given the opportunity to be where they were. What my problem is, Mr. Speaker, if the governor or the county government of Kisumu wants to clean Kisumu and to make it look like any other city in the world, it is okay. But what do you do with the people that have been there, who have been eating from their small businesses? The problem I have with that is the way it is being done. In fact, the most important thing that the county government should have done, first of all, to find a temporary place and place people and then move them step by step. You can decide to maybe move people from this house, from these chambers. Do it properly and then move people back. But just waking up from nowhere, whether they were given a notice or not given, it is unfortunate, it's very unfair, and it is being done at the wrong time. When we were in Kisumu over the weekend, in fact, there was a lot of demolitions that were done, which is very unfortunate. In fact, I was even afraid to go and approach the people because they can even stone you. These are people who live hand to mouth. If they don't trade for a day, it means that day they can't eat. So such people, if you have to resettle them, you have to be careful how you do it. Nobody can just come in my domain and just throw me out. It is not good. It is not acceptable. The way it is being done is wrong. It is inhumane. And people must be treated properly. When governments are put in place, they are put in place to make their people better. They are put in place to improve the lives of their people. But you cannot put a government in place to come and destroy you. Then it means you don't need that government. So the government of Kisumu is doing the wrong thing. The way they are doing resettlement and demolition of structures. Yes, structures must be demolished, but the way they are doing it is wrong, it is inhumane, and something has to be done. If it is left like this for another 1 year, we still need Kisumu. We need, I understand we even have to do Afro-Cities. And with the Afro-Cities coming, Afri-Cities, that is a very big conference coming to Kisumu next year. Yes, the city must be done to those standards. What do you do with your people? If you become a president, do you throw your children out because they are dirty? They can't sit with you on that table. They cannot sit with you with other presidents. It's wrong. What we are doing for our people is very wrong. And I think this Senate should not sit like this and just wait for the people to suffer the way they are suffering. It is wrong. fellow senators, we have been talking about it, we've been crying, people are crying out there, but nothing is being done, and demolition is going on, and people are suffering. And it is unfortunate also during this time of COVID, where now people are suffering so much. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to congratulate my senator for bringing this statement on the floor of this House.
Thank you, Senator Ali Abdullah Ibrahim.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Senator for Kisumu for bringing the plight of his people, the problems to the Senate. Mr. Speaker, I saw what happened in Kisumu. Is it over the TV, and I was surprised and shocked. I think that was very bad. If it was the county government of Kisumu which did that, they don't deserve to be in that position. You don't harass the people who elected you to that level, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. The newbies here, they suffered here in Kibera, where they were staying was just demolished like that. Now in Kisumu again, this is not fair. These people have been here for hundreds of years, and they are not even given proper seats. They are not even proper citizens. They don't even have anything. They don't have IDs. The houses they were given by those areas they were given by the colonial government. Now you demolish. How do you demolish a mosque of 90 years old? This is very sad. It can even bring tensions within the communities unnecessarily. And these people are part and parcel of the Kisumu community. They have lived with them. There in Nairobi, they have lived with them. They are part and parcel of the Luo, literally. And when you target a certain minority to that level, and I'm sure they are not the only ones who live there. There are people, other members of the Kisumu community who live with them. This is very sad. I wish to support the statement of the senator, and I hope this House takes action. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Haji Faria Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a building that is 90 years old is a heritage that Governor Anyang' Nyong'o should have protected in the first place. Not only is it a religious monument, but it is also a heritage for Kisumu County. So in my view, how I viewed Governor Anyang' Nyong'o is somebody with foresight. But on this one, he messed big time. Because the Nubian community are minority in Kisumu. And I'm sure because they are Muslim, they are also minority. So they are double minority. And for you to destroy a mosque that they have had for 90 years, surely that is telling these people that you don't even belong to this country, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm sorry. I keep on referring you to Mr. Speaker. And Madam Speaker, when development is being done, it should not be at the expense of other people's lives and livelihood, Madam Speaker. By the time you make people, I mean, these people are the same people who elected you as a governor of Kisumu. What kind of monster did they elect, Madam Speaker? What kind of monster did they elect? Because for me, Madam Speaker, this is somebody who is destroying the people who elected him. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank Senator of Kisumu, Senator Ouster, for bringing this statement. If he had not brought this statement now, even us who belong to the Islamic faith, we would have thought, what is wrong with people of Kisumu? But now I am glad that the senator for Kisumu has categorically stated his position, and I respect you, sir, for that. And I also wish to thank Senator Nyamunga for also condemning that heinous act that this governor has committed. And Madam Speaker, this kind of action should not be allowed by any democracy or any person who feels humane enough. I actually saw a picture of a guy who is calling for prayers on top of the stones that have been demolished. So that shows you how faithful these people are. But you have destroyed the faith they placed in you, because they elected you as their governor. I thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Senator Sakaja, are you on a point of order? Yes. What's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I was on a point of order, but Senator Faria has finished. I understand the passion and the pain, and I also condemn the demolitions which are not done in a humane way. But Madam Speaker, some words used are not parliamentary and need to be withdrawn. I heard, if I heard right, Senator Faria saying, what kind of a monster did the people of Kisumu elect? The word monster, referring to a governor as a monster, Madam Speaker, cannot be on the record of this House. It is not parliamentary, it is not right, despite what has been done. So I would ask that you rule that she withdraws that term. It cannot exist in our Hansard. In any case, Madam Speaker, conduct of a governor to discuss it needs a substantive motion according to our standing orders. So while we condemn the act and we condemn what has happened to the people, because even in Nairobi, some of these demolitions are very inhuman, and we have such statements, let us moderate the words that we use, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Faria, which monster were you referring to?
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank Senator Sakaja. I withdraw that word.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Mbito. Michael Malinga, were you? Okay.
Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to support Senator Outer's statement and let the House know that this is not an issue that happened in Kisumu County only. This monstrous demolition also took place in Trans Nzoia County, and we have over 20,000 traders who are now destitute. We had a situation in Trans Nzoia where the Kenya Railways came and started demolishing houses without notice, and the people being demolished had running leases. So these are the issues that...
Yes, there is a point of order from Senator Pareno.
Madam Speaker, is it in order for Senator Mbito to again insist on using a word that you have ruled out as being unparliamentary, the word monster? Monstrous. He even made it worse, Madam Speaker.
I thought I heard him refer to the action.
I'm describing the action, not a person.
Yes.
I'm describing the action.
At least this time there is no monster.
No, it's not a person. So, Madam Speaker, if I can continue, we had a situation over the weekend where the Kenya Railways came and demolished houses, churches, businesses on land that had running leases, without any notices. And after that, the county government took advantage again and went and evicted people. So this kind of thing happening, I really support Senator Outer for bringing this thing, and that when you will be taking it to the relevant committee, we will want to prosecute this matter because we want to find out from the Kenya Railways, when did they give a notice for eviction of these people? Why did they not recognize that these people have running leases? Yeah. So what kind of compensation were they planning to give these businessmen? So I thank you, Madam Speaker, for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Naomi Masitsa Sionga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the statement of raised by Senator Outer. Madam Speaker, I just want to support and say in my statement that the demolition that is happening across the country is not really, it is really inhumane, because most of these demolitions that are being done, they are done at night when people are sleeping. And right now, we are having curfew. Right now, it's time for the pandemic, where people are struggling with their livelihood. So looking at what has happened in Kisumu, Kitale, Nairobi, and other counties or across the country, it's of really concern to us as leaders, and it is really not the best thing to be done right now. I wish to urge members of this House that we need to be on a lookout, and if possible, the leaders who are organizing this, I know there is an executive arm in our counties, which is actually working across board to make sure that they are bringing down the economy of this country in an opposite way of upgrading it. It is unfortunate that traditionally we have never been experiencing this thing maybe before devolution. But when we got the devolution or when we got the counties, people are just doing their own things, or the counties are just doing their own thing. They have taken mandate of frustrating their own citizens. Citizens who have voted for them, citizens who have employed them, and they have now turned to upset them by demolishing their structures which they have invested in. The traitors have lost a lot of their properties in the demolition. Madam Speaker, it is very sad that most of people have now become very poor because of this demolition. And they are nowhere, they have nobody to turn to, because even if they go to the same government, county government, they are still turned back, and they really do not have anybody to look for. I pray that this statement be taken seriously with the concerned committee, and even they visit those, whoever that the concerned counties, so that this act is brought to an end and our people are saved, so that they can invest in what they think that is permanent for them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Finally, Senator Justice Machayo.
Asante, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, tuko na msemo ulisemwa na wahenga zamani ya kwamba ukiona cha mwenzako kinanyolewa, chako anza kutia maji. Jambo hili la kuvunjiwa nyumba na Wakenya kuitwa maskwota, yani mahali unapoketi si kwako, hata ijapokuwa umeishi miaka mingi, ni jambo ambalo linatendeka sana hata kwa upande wa pwani. Speaker, ni kitu cha kusikitisha ya kwamba katika kabila hili, katika makabila yote 45 sasa, Wanubi ni watu ambao tunajua kwamba wanaishi sehemu za Kibira na wanajulikana kwamba wanaishi katika sehemu za Kibosi. Na ijapokuwa hata kewa si wengi, lakini najulikana kwamba ni wa Kenya na ni watu wanaishi na heshima zao, wanaishi kama community, kama vile jamaa wengine wa Kenya wanavyoishi. Cha aibu kwa serikali yetu, ama cha kitendo cha unyama kilichotendewa wa Kenya wenzetu, kilikuwa cha kuhuzunisha sana. Na Speaker, ilionyeshwa katika runinga ama aina zote za kuweza kupatisha habari. Kile kitendo cha unyama kilifanywa mpaka mama aliyekuwa ako ndani ya nyumba. Wewe binadamu gani utaweza kuchukua trakta na uvunje, na unasikia kelele zinalia ndani, na mama anajaribu kutoa mtoto wake, inabidi mama atoke nje, na wewe unaendelea kufanya namna hiyo mpaka unaua mtoto ambaye angekuwa wa manufaa sana katika jamii ya Wakenya katika maisha ya usoni yanayofika. Speaker, kwanza hatua inakuwa ni muhimu sana sheria ichukue mkondo wake. Huyu aliyetumwa kufanya jambo hilo hakutumwa pale kwenda kuua. Kama alitumwa kwenda kuondoa vile vijumba vilivyokuwa pale ama zile nyumba ziko pale, Speaker, angefanya katika hali ya ubinadamu. Uvunjaji wa hizi nyumba ulifanywa hali ya unyama. Ukiangalia kwamba ikiwa unyama huu unakwenda mpaka unavunja misikiti, watu wanaenda kuomba Mungu, hata afadhali kama unavunja pande nyingine, lakini ukiona msikiti ama uone kanisa na watu ambao watu wanaenda kuomba Mungu, wewe pia ni binadamu ambaye unaishi katika ulimwengu huu, na unaishi katika hali ya kwamba ni Mungu peke yake ndio anataka uendelee kuishi hapa. Watu wako na imani na misikiti, wako na imani na makanisa, wako na imani hata kama ni masheikh na ni masiki wale wahindi wanaabudu katika misikiti yao. Speaker, ni jambo la unyama sana kuona ya kwamba kwa mara yangu ya kwanza katika Kenya kusikia kwamba msikiti wa Kiislamu unaweza kubomolewa na matingatinga ukiambiwa kwamba umetengenezwa bila haki. Tunajua sheria ya Kenya kwamba watu wakiketi mahali kwa miaka zaidi ya 12 bila kusumbuliwa, bila kuambiwa kwamba ondokeni, hata ikiwa ni mahali gani, hapo mahali ni lazima wapewe nafasi ya kwanza kumiliki hiyo ardhi. Speaker, tunaona Kibosi ni eneo kubwa na kuna makanisa, kuna misikiti, kuna nyumba za watu, na wamesema ya kwamba wamekuwa hapo zaidi ya miaka 90. Kwa hiyo ni jambo la kusikitisha kuona hivi leo serikali yetu ikiwa shirika la reli ambalo lenyewe liko katika hali ya taaban, linakufa, linaweza kuchukua hatua ya kwamba wanavunjia watu misikiti mahali pa kuomba, wanavunjia watu manyumba, wanafuta hata mafuru. Wakati huu wa ugonjwa wa hatari wa COVID, unatoa watu nje, unawafanya walalahoi katika nchi yao ya Kenya ambapo wamezoea kuishi pale wanaishi. Speaker, namshukuru sana ndugu yangu Nyaruwath. Namshukuru sana ndugu yangu Senator Ouster. Pole Speaker. Kwa kuleta statement hii ndani, na ningependa Speaker, kikao kitakachoketi ambacho kitasikiza kama kamati kichukue hatua ya muafaka ili kuenda na kujionea na kuangalia kama ni ukweli hawa watu wameketi pale zaidi ya miaka 90, na ikiwa ndio hivyo basi ili shirika liweze kuregesha yale makao kama yalivyokuwa hapo awali. Asante Speaker.
Senator, I had said last, but I see Mutula, do you still need a minute? Okay, I'll give you 2 last minutes. 3.
Thank you. I don't know, it's a good year. Thank you, Speaker. In a few minutes, we condemned the demolitions that were in Kariobangi in the same vein when Senator Sakaja brought the matter to us, when it was done at night during COVID. And I said at the time, and I say it now, that the government at both levels has always been very insensitive to the plight of poor Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I saw the demolitions, and even if those Kenyans or those residents are on railway land is not an alien. Railway land belongs to Kenyans. Railway land belongs to everybody, and there is no justification whatsoever for that demolition. Perhaps Senator Ouster can even refer to the law we made on the land valuation. In fact, for purposes of acquisition of land, even the people who are on public land must be given notice. Even for purposes of acquisition of land, those people on public land who have lived on public land are given some element of rights for purposes of acquisition. It's a violation of human rights. I said it in the Kariobangi case that it's an international violation of human rights, and the people who are responsible must be taken to task and to book, because what they did is unlawful, it's illegal. There's no reason why any Kenyan should sleep out in the cold because of public purpose or private purpose. And it must be reiterated. In the days when you could open private prosecution, now the DPP doesn't work as well as they used to those days. You would institute private prosecution against the people who conduct demolitions at night during a pandemic. It is a violation, and we must treat it as such. Senator Ouster, I encourage you to forward a complaint to the Kenyan National Human Rights Commission for purposes of investigation and charging of these people, because it's a violation. Let's call it what it is. It's a violation of human rights. It's a violation of Article 28. There's a small article in the Constitution called the right to human dignity. Even giving somebody a toilet is a right to their dignity. Denying children food and shelter at night is a violation, and it must be treated as such. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Wow, I had finished the minutes for this one. I see Senator Alake and I see Senator Orengo. If you will take 2 minutes each, I will allow. Senator Alake, please. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker,
I'm glad you allowed me to say something. I actually had a statement as well on this, but didn't get approved in good time. I'd like to congratulate Senator Ouster for bringing this up. And in fact, I'd like to be enjoined in it so that if he complains, I would like to make sure that I'm part of that as well. But Madam Speaker, issues of violations of the rights of people, issues of violations of the rights and the freedoms of worship, for instance, because so many mosques and so many churches were demolished in those demolitions, and the loss of life. And Madam Speaker, I don't know what to say, because really this is becoming too much. And the duty bearer and the person responsible is the state, no matter who it is that has done it. We cannot blame Kenya Railways, we cannot blame anybody, because at the end of the day, the person that should be preserving the dignity of human beings, the person should be ensuring that citizens are safe and have all the provisions of Article 43 is the state, and therefore I think the state is culpable of gross injustice to its own citizens, and as such, they should be answerable and should be held accountable. Madam Speaker, a few years ago when we had the railway being built, or for other developments in Kibra and other places, we saw the inhumane manner in which these things have been conducted. And one of the things that I was then working for the Red Cross was that this country is one of the few countries that has never ever taken responsibility for the gross injustices to its poor, to the gross injustices to some of the most, for meting on its own people, the worst kinds of injustices, Madam Speaker. So I think and we will do it, we'll make sure that this is not just a matter of talking, because we've lamented enough. I think action needs to be taken, and Senator Ouster, we're going to be with you to ensure that the next steps are taken. I thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Senator Orengo James.
Madam Speaker, let me commend the Senator for Kisumu for bringing this matter up. And Madam Speaker, I hope at the end of it, this matter should be referred to the relevant committee for proper consideration and the recommendation brought to this House. But what makes me feel terrible about this issue is that the forceful eviction is illegal. That's the first principle. Even if you're a trespasser in somebody's land, he cannot just begin beating you up. You have to follow due process. And the law of the land in respect to land that even belongs to the public, what is it called public land, there's a procedure that they must follow. And since the enactment of the Constitution 2010, the principle that should guide all public agencies all the time is that even public land does not necessarily belong to government agencies for their own good. It belongs for the good of the people. And if the people are made to suffer the way I've seen families spending nights in the cold in Kibos and in Muhoroni and along that line, and of course I've heard that this operation is going to Malaba and so on. You know, if you find out what the Kenya Railways itself has done itself over the years in handing over public land to people who are just cartels and want to make money out of public land, and they have not taken any steps to recover those pieces of land, and instead they are concentrating on ordinary people, it demonstrates that in a way this government and these agencies are trying to tell us that this country, when rights and privileges are involved, the law is there only to protect the mighty and to guide the mighty, but to oppress the poor people of this land. You know, I have 20 years ago taken part in a Harambee to build a church in Koru, a very beautiful church where the honorable member for Kabondo
comes from. I think that's where she was born. And the mother was a very religious person. Now, that entire church, which has been on that ground for more than 50 years, has been brought down. Bringing down a mosque, for whatever reason, I mean, at the end of the day, you should have the decency going before a court of law and for a determination to be made. Because many times, government has also trespassed on individual property. And nobody has been brought to account. And in any case, if you have allowed somebody to stay on your land for more than 20, 30 years, the principles of law that apply is that you have, to prove that the right of possession still can be enjoyed by that particular individual. And those principles are applied in the courts all the time. But I know as a matter of fact that the eviction laws and procedures are in place, and whether or not somebody is in your land and you think that he does not deserve to be there and is unwilling to move out of that land, the step to take under the rule of law is to go to an appropriate body where that matter can be settled. But at the end of it, those images which went viral all over the world, that this is how Kenya is treating its ordinary people, because they were sleeping out there in the night because they have nowhere else to go. I think, Senator Ruto, you should call us to come with you to that area, like yesterday, and tell not only the people that we are expressing solidarity, but those concerned also, we must accuse them before the people in Koro and in Muhoroni. And I urge Senator Mutula Kilonzo, because I come from that area, you accept a brief pro bono to stand up for these citizens in Kisumu County. And I know one day the senator for Kisumu, because I know he has some interest in Makueni and Machakos, which I shall not disclose. He will pay in kind. And I can see Senator Wambua laughing. Because in enjoyment of that privilege that he has in Makueni, Kitui, and Machakos, Senator Wambua, who is a bishop, sometimes presides over it. But that is not to take away the seriousness of this matter. Madam Speaker, I am so grateful you gave me the opportunity to add a voice to this question. And please, could you direct the relevant committee that they should act on this with immediacy and with a sense of urgency? I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, this statement has attracted a lot of attention. Although it was under 47.1, I will use my discretion to direct it to the Committee of Roads and Transportation and ask the Senator of Kisumu to avail not only the details he has, but the answered copy, so that the issues that have been raised by other senators can also be taken on board. I would also like to ask the committee that they go beyond Kisumu and actually deal with the issue nationally, because the issue has affected everywhere from Nairobi, Kisumu, and Nakuru all the way, wherever railways has had land. So we expect you to expeditiously deal with that matter as a committee and bring it back here so that members can be satisfied that the different parts of the country have been addressed on the matter. Thank you. So I order. The next statement, Honorable Senators, statements pursuant to Standing Order 48.1. The first statement by Senator Cleophas Malala is deferred out of his personal request. He was not able to be here today. The next one is by Senator Falhada Iman, and is going to be read by Senator Naomi Wako.
Is it? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on the alleged arson attack on Garissa County Assembly facilities. In the statement, the committee should state the cause of the huge fire that burned down parts of the Garissa County Assembly chambers and several offices on Thursday, 28 January 2021. Number 2, report on the extent of the damage and state whether there was any foul play behind the incident. Again, Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on the rampant police harassment of civilians while enforcing the COVID-19 protocols and guidelines. In the statement, the committee should provide information on the agreed standards and procedure for police arrest for suspected violation of COVID-19 rules and clarify whether police officers have been adequately trained on this procedure to avoid further spread and infection of COVID-19 amongst the police and those arrested. Number 2, provide immediate and suitable alternatives to enforce the COVID-19 protocols and guidelines rather than police arrest. Number 3, provide an update and a report on the investigations on the alleged deaths of members of the public at the hands of the police, allegedly for failing to wear masks in public. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Wako. There is also a second statement by Falhada, and I hear you have been given the opportunity to do that. So you can read the next one before I allow Senator Wambua to say something. Oh, you have read the second one? Sorry, I didn't notice that. Thank you, Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to make a comment on the statement sought by Senator Falhada. First of all, Madam Speaker, is to congratulate the Senator, Madam Speaker, for seeking that statement. And Madam Speaker, is to bring to the attention of this House and the Committee on Security that, Madam Speaker, a direction was given from the chair sometimes last year that statements sought by members to committees should be acted on and reports shared with the members seeking those statements before those reports are tabled on the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, I am on record. I have sought a statement related to a fire that brought down the finance offices of the Kitui County government in July of 2019. Madam Speaker, to date, I have not received any brief from the committee and no statement or no report has been tabled on this floor of this House. Madam Speaker, just to request that the chair reiterates the position that such reports are not just sought for the sake of seeking statements, but they are a response to the outcry of the people that have elected us into this House, Madam Speaker. I feel the pain of the people of Garissa when the assembly went up in flames. I feel much more pain for the people of Kitui because, Madam Speaker, all the finance documents relating to transactions of the county government of Kitui were banned. There is no statement, there is no report from the committee, there is no report from the investigating agencies. Madam Speaker, let us not reduce these statements into talk shows, because they should never be like that. When statements are sought, Madam Speaker, let us get responses. And Madam Speaker, I will seek and request that you give a directive that as we pursue the matter raised by Senator Falhada, the report that I sought in 2019, that I be given that report, Madam Speaker,
Pareno,
in the shortest time
Point
possible.
of order
I thank
from
you.
Senator Pareno.
That's okay, that's okay.
Actually, Madam Speaker, I had wanted to speak, to add on to what he was saying, so I'm not sure whether he had finished. If he has finished, I can.
Okay,
Yes,
he has finished.
it was not a point of order. Madam Speaker, it has become, I think we need to start afresh this year and maybe show that we are really serious with what we do. We have a lot of statements that have not been processed, just like he was saying. For me, I have even several that I'm still following up. The committees have not even informed us what is happening. They have not been answered. Maybe we need to, once and for all, pull out all those that have not been acted on, so that we know the position and what to do. We need to get a way forward from you, Speaker, on what we do with all the statements that we have done and they have never been processed by the several committees that they have been referred to.
Okay, I'll touch on that one. Senator Faria Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When Senator Wambua brought his statement, I had said that there is need to have a different system. You can't be doing the same thing the same way and expect different results, Madam Speaker. Because, you know, the world has advanced. There is even an electronic filing of documents, so that it is even saved in the cloud that nobody can reach. Internet has gone places, Madam Speaker. Why we have box files being banned, and most of the times the finance files, I don't understand. And it keeps on from one county to another. When will it, this madness, when will it stop, Madam Speaker? The other files are okay, it's only finance. So, Madam Speaker.
There is a point of order from Senator Ali Abdullahi.
Thank you. I do not want to interrupt my colleague and sister and my boss, but she's in the finance committee. They are the ones to give us the answer. They should not be complaining. This is an issue of the finance committee, and the finance committee should give us those answers, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Actually, the two questions are being directed to security. Yeah, these are security matters, and I think the one of Wambua was also to security. But I'll say something about the backlog. Yes, please finish.
I want to advise my senator that arson is not a finance function, it's more security function, because this is an arson in my view. People are doing, you know, it's criminal nature in the way it is being handled. But Madam Speaker, this just shows you that the crimes that happen within counties, nobody addresses them until people fear now they have done it to a level where they can't even sustain themselves, and that they resort to banning that can take care of that is not even as expensive as people tend to think, including even supporting documents filing with payment voucher for all that, so that nobody can dare take care of that. It can even be done within IFMIS with an extension. I hear IFMIS is on Oracle. Oracle can do a lot of things, Madam Speaker. I've interacted with a finance system that does similar function. So you don't know whether this is, you know, deliberate to ensure that things don't move within our counties, Madam Speaker. And I think...
You know more about Oracle? Yes. Would you like to be informed by Senator? Okay. Yes.
Madam Speaker, some of these gaps and issues will be sorted in the BBI. It's in the BBI.
Thank you. Does that mean that Senator Millicent is now, Omanga is now provocating the issues of VVI? Please wind up.
Madam Speaker,
that was information for everybody.
Madam Speaker, it is good that Senator Millicent Omanga is on record having supported BBI, but I don't understand how that is relevant to what I was saying. Madam Speaker, the other issue is around, police harassment. Madam Speaker, the Muslim community, there is a face mask that is clothed. Madam Speaker, a county like Wajir, people are jailed for wearing the veil, and yet the police have no capacity to determine whether the veil is good enough for COVID-19 prevention compared to normal cloth mats. So I'm contributing to the next statement by Senator Naomi now. Because there were two statements that were given the same time.
Yeah, I allowed that. I
Yes.
said read both and then we respond to both. So please let's allow response. Are you okay, Sakaja? You have a point of order? Yes.
Madam Speaker, it appears during Senator Faria's very good contribution that there's a problem within finance, because it looks like those are the documents that are flammable in counties more than any other thing. The PFM Act is very specific when it comes to keeping of records. And I know Senator Wambua's question might have been directed to security, but possibly the Committee of Finance needs to give us a status of how information and documents are being stored in counties, because it can't be that you're only hearing documents of finance being burnt, So it's not just a security issue. It is part of the accounting officer's responsibility to keep records in a certain way, and maybe an intervention on the IT systems and Oracle can then be discussed within that context. So it could enrich the House if the Finance Committee also chips in and gives us a status of all the counties and record keeping, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. I think that's good addition. Please wind up, Senator Faria.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, as I was saying, the police have no medical knowledge to know the difference between a veil and the cloth masks that everybody else wears. Because in my county, there are ladies who have been victimized for wearing a veil, which is equivalent to just a normal cloth mask that prevents also. We have to be consistent in how we make our decision. Either make sure that all the masks are not clothes at all and they are surgical masks, or if we accept clothes, then veil should be part of that clothes that are being accepted, Madam Speaker. Otherwise, we will be having double speak. Like I know some ladies in Wajir who have been charged 7,000 for wearing a veil, which is the same. It does the same job like cloth mats. So, Madam Speaker, I think there is need to address some of these things so that we have a concretized ideas in terms of how the COVID prevention should be taken to the next level. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, the two statements stand committed still to the National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations Committee. But it does not stop the committee from inviting suggestions from other committees. We know we also have members who are in both Finance and Security Committee. It is true also that some of the statements have not been done, and I would like to urge chairs of committees that it is the right of members to get responses. It's the right of members to be informed if their statements, even their petitions, have been dealt with by the committees or not. I think now that we're beginning a new year and we say that our tray is full, chairs of committees must take the lead to make sure that any statement that has been hanging is completed, resolved, and the member informed of the responses. And where petitions are involved, that petitions, the resolutions are also sent to the petitioners. I think this is very important. Let's clean up our house, but I would also urge members of the House Business Committee to go further and release the full list as has been asked by a member so that we know where the statements are. I know they've been giving an update once in a while, but it's good for members to know where the statements are so that we can clean up the past. Thank you, members. With that, the next statement is from Senator Petronila Were Locorio.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the status and operations of the Kenya Scouting Association, KSA. In the statement, the committee should state whether the Kenya Scouts Act is in tandem with the Constitution of Kenya 2010, given that it was last revised in 2008. Secondly, that the committee provide information on the operations of the Kenya Scouts Association, including but not limited to decentralization of services to county level, partnerships, and the promotion of the scouting movement in Kenya. And finally, that the committee should provide information on the preservation of the gravesite of the founder of the scouting movement, Lord Baden-Powell, and his wife, Lady Baden-Powell, that is located in Nyeri County, and whether there are any plans to relocate the gravesite due to negligence. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. That statement stands committed to the Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. The next statement is from the Senator of Wajir, Senator Dr. Abdullahi Ali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations regarding the abduction, disappearance, and murder of the members of the public in Wajir County. In the statement, the committee should state whether the measures, if any, that the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has put in place in an effort to investigate the abduction, torture, and killing of a prominent businessman, Mr. Abdullahi Yusuf Farah, ID number 00522216, who left Nairobi for Wajir on Monday, the 25th of January, 2021, and whose mutilated body was found around Lake Yehud. This is a watering point which is next, around 4 kilometers from the town center, and near the Wajir International Airport. And it's from the airport fence, it's just around 500 to a kilometer. And by the way, Madam Speaker, recently the president went even to Wajir and inaugurated the cameras for that. It has cameras everywhere, and it can go up to 2 to 3 kilometers. Madam Speaker, I want, like near the Wajir Airport on Thursday, 28 January 2021. Number 2, outline measures the government is putting in place to deal conclusively with the issue of incessant abductions and murders of innocent citizens with the aim of ensuring justice is served to the victims. Madam Speaker, this gentleman is a very prominent man in Wajir, and when his body was found after he disappeared for 2 days, there were questions everywhere. Who killed him? And if it continues like that, it can go to an extent of where there can even be tribal clashes because nobody knows who killed him. Some others are talking of issues of Al-Shabaab, others are talking of government, others are talking of clan factors and business rivalry. So when issues like that are not resolved urgently, it can lead to a disaster, Madam Speaker. I want the committee to look into this urgently and come up with at least a solution which make sure that the people of Wajir do not unnecessarily kill one another. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Morgan, were you pressing? No, he was looking in. Thank you. That statement stands committed to the Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations. The next statement is by Senator Beatrice Kwamboka. And you have 2 statements to the same committee, so you can read both.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the rise in incidents of fires in learning institutions in the country and the resultant insecurity of learners, workers, and property. In the statement, the committee should, number one, explain the causes of the rampant incidents of fire in learning institutions in the country in the recent past, expound on the availability and distribution of firefighting equipment in learning institutions and the level of awareness of the existence of such equipment by the population within or surrounding the institutions. Outline the measures put in place to ensure the safety of students, staff, and property within these institutions, as well as plans for evacuation where necessary. And number four, elucidate on the actions being taken by the Ministry of Education to ensure that such fires are eradicated or controlled in order to avoid or minimize disruption of learning and damage or loss to the property and lives. The second statement, Madam Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the state of affairs at Wangu Primary School in Dandora, Phase 2, Nairobi City County, where I was born and raised. In the statement, no, in that constituency, not in the school. Senator for Nairobi. Number one, state the population of learners with disabilities in Wangu Primary School, outlining their specific disabilities, and explain the availability and distribution of teachers dedicated to this category of pupils in the school. Number two, expound on the methods of teaching used to teach learners with hearing impairment at the school. Number three, explain the special measures, if any, that have been put in place to ensure that learners with disabilities enrolled in the school are facilitated to move at the same pace with the rest of the learners in understanding and covering the syllabus. And number four, outline the actions being taken by the Ministry of Education to ensure that schools across the country take care of the needs of learners with disabilities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Lokorio Betolina Were.
Na plantation. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I had a statement similar to that on the rampant indiscipline cases in schools, so I will not go into details, but I would like the committee to look at the following points as well. The Committee on Education. One, explain the cause of indiscipline in schools that has caused school property to be razed down by fires, allegedly started by students in over 6 high schools across the country since the year began. It should also state measures put in place by the Ministry of Education and basic education institutions to address cases of indiscipline in schools. It should spell out measures put in place to protect teachers, innocent students, school workers, and school property from being harmed or destroyed by unruly students. The committee should also describe the effectiveness of guidance and counseling in schools in mitigating indiscipline in light of the recent cases of gross indiscipline in schools, taking note of issues of mental health among students, especially after the long period of COVID. And then the committee should also explain the application of the policy on suspension and or expulsion of indisciplined students as a disciplinary mechanism after the banning of corporal punishment in schools in 2001. And finally, the committee should give steps taken to reintegrate female students who got pregnant during the long break from education occasioned by the virus COVID-19. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sakaja. Johnson, Ada.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And allow me to thank Senator Kwamboka, who, as she said, is a born town, born in Nairobi, raised in Dandora. Madam Speaker, these are very important questions, and I'm glad that Senator Petronila has chimed in, because she's spot on in the issues she's raising for these two statements. Number one, Madam Speaker, and I'm happy the chair of education is here, very able chair, who was trained by me when I was a chair, and she was my vice chair. On the issue of the school fires and unruly cases, Madam Speaker, no one is talking about how these children, when they came back to school, were reintegrated. These children were away for an entire year. Was there any counseling? Was there any, looking at their mental health issues? Many of them were in very tough situations at home because of, the economic conditions last year. It's been a whole year. We need to understand what the plan for reintegration of these children. There's post-corona trauma. Some lost relatives. Some had a tough time because of the economy. So that post-COVID counseling, whether it has been done. Secondly, the committee needs to look at, possibly together with the Committee on ICT, on the issue of reporting of these incidences. Children at that age are, susceptible to peer pressure. And so when they see that this school was burnt, it is on the media, tomorrow another one, and they're being asked, why haven't you burnt your school also? So on the issue of how we are reporting this, should we stop reporting these fires? Do these children have phones where they are, conspiring between each other? That is a matter that needs to be looked at. Madam Speaker, in addition, and I hope that the chair can actually look at this, these children are in a very dire state in many schools. I visited a number of schools in Nairobi over the past 2 weeks. I've gone to actually 7 or 8 of my schools. If you look at these primary school kids especially, they are completely hopeless because they're hungry. We used to have a robust school feeding program. Can that be reinstated? Or should we amend the Education Act? Because in urban areas, and especially in Nairobi, when there's no food because of the economic situation, there's nothing at all. Sometimes the rural areas, you can find some mahindi, gorogoro here or there. There's mboga, the fence is even, you can eat it, you can cook something. But our children, if you look at their faces, are extremely hungry. There's no school milk, there's no school feeding. The other day I was in Kawangware, and I visited 6 schools there. There's a problem. So can that please be reinstated? Finally, on the second statement that Senator Kwamboka has asked for, it is extremely important on the issue of disabilities. I know the women, the NGAF has really helped in some of the CDF committees in some constituencies. And Honorable Shebesh did a good job when she was women rep. Honorable Pasaris is also trying with the issue of disabilities. But we don't have many of these special units in Nairobi. I know, for instance, autism. For instance, in Marurui, there's only one center where, for a huge part of Nairobi, only one place where these children with autism are able to be addressed. Honorable Omanga also is doing very well, but she doesn't have a fund. She's just doing it out of the abundance of her wealth. She's extremely rich. And I know when she comes and when she's elected as the next, female senator of Nairobi, I hope she will have a fund. Because it must move beyond our philanthropy, to actual programs. And at least she said it is also covered in BBI. But Madam Speaker, please ask the chair, please look at those issues, because we are seeing the indiscipline, but we're not seeing these children. No one is looking at the state these children are in. And chair, please look at that. The feeding and the post-corona counseling. These children are traumatized. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Zani, Agnes Philomena.
Speaker, and I'll be very brief. Yesterday, there was the launch by the President for the CBC, which is really the hope for the whole educational system and moving towards competency-based rather than the rhetoric sort of objective reasoning that was there, and empirical and just cognition without, application in terms of the framework. I think at this point, all these matters are very critical, and I think as that statement is coming to the Education Committee, it will be very critical for the committee to look at it very, very broadly, because there are so many issues. It's not just about banning of the schools, as Senator Sakaja has said. There are psychological impacts there, there are cultural, there are social, there's social background, there's a lot of things that is happening. So I think this is a good statement that will help to enlighten what might be going wrong within the educational system. Because, Madam Speaker, we say that the University of Nairobi, even when there was a riot, nobody dared put fire on the library because they knew they need it. So when we find the institutions are burning their own resources, it becomes tricky, means there's really an issue there. And I think we can get to the bottom of this issue and also then contribute as Senate to our educational standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Kilonzo Mutula Jr.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say that I'm a proud chairman of a school in Nairobi. And Madam Chair, I deliberately, as chair, ordered that there should be CCTV in the dormitories. The boys objected. The boys protested. But eventually, we had our way as a board. Now, how did this help? A year ago, these boys, of course, didn't know that we were recording them that night. But this boy and a few others got paraffin and lit one of the dormitories. Now, the unfortunate thing about that fire, Madam Speaker, is that there was one boy who was either epileptic or had a problem. And that boy escaped by a whisker. He was almost burnt alive in that dormitory. And it then confirmed that, in fact, while they were protesting that we were violating their privacy, I told them, if you are living in a dormitory where you are 100 people, there's no privacy. But where you have the security of those 100 children, Madam Speaker, then CCTV cameras where it is recording day and night becomes a necessity for purposes of making sure these boys don't do this. This particular boy who was the ringleader of this fire, Madam Speaker, lit this dormitory that was built 30, 40 years ago simply because he was tired of that school and wanted to go for the weekend for a funeral of his relative. And since he was denied the opportunity, they bought paraffin and burnt the dormitory. We almost lost a student. So it's not just indiscipline. It's bad upbringing, carelessness. I have recently sat in a disciplinary committee where this boy just confessed that he buys bang somewhere in Kino, and I mean, he didn't see anything wrong about smoking it in school, in the corridors. I am aware of students in Nairobi who are engaging in gun running. And if boards are not careful, these boys are not only going to burn dormitories, they are going to do even worse things. And I've told them before, and the education committee must tell these students, and I'm glad Dr. Alice Milgo is here. If you burn a car on the streets, you are a criminal, you go for crime. If you are a student and you burn the dormitory, you are supposed to be treated the same. If you carry a gun on the streets, you'll be treated like a criminal. If you carry a gun in school or bang and you are found in the streets of Nairobi, Kenyatta Avenue, you will be treated like a criminal. Why are students who behave like this treated as if they are children? Oh, please, well, yes, these are kids. No, they are criminals. Because when you make a mistake and a person loses a family member, like they lost in Moi Girls.
I see a point of order from Senator Lokorio Petronila.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's actually a point of information. Madam Speaker, I would like to inform...
You should always distinguish because the member might not need information.
So I'm sure Mutula loves education.
And particularly from my age mate, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. He's my age mate, but there are things he knows that I don't know and things I know that he doesn't know. For example, on the issue of the child, we are children below the age of 18, and even our criminal system, which Mutula knows very well, recognizes that fact that when a child comes in, they are treated differently. And these children who ban schools, children who do criminal acts, in quotes, are children with mental issues. That's where we should start from. So let's not criminalize their acts first. We establish why they are doing what they are doing, and then deal with that issue. Thank you.
Are you accepting the information?
No. Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no. I mean, and I've just given an explanation that a child sits down, they fundraise, collect money to buy paraffin. They identify who is going to burn. They identify how they are going to live. In criminal action, you have what we call preparation to commit a crime. How do you treat this person like a child? How can a child who carries a gun, buys bang, distributes bang, be treated like a child? And yet, when an ordinary parent in Kenya, Madam Speaker, takes their child to a boarding school, they imagine that everybody is like their child, who knows no evil, speaks no evil, and knows no evil. But this child is then exposed to some things in school, which those things, in ordinary parlance, would be criminal action. It is this sort of thing from Petronila, where a senator, that is leading to children burning expensive investments. And the minute we treat these children this way, they will think this is ordinary. And there is no mentor. In fact, half of the students who I've seen who can plan such crimes, you will be surprised, Madam Speaker, that they are the brightest in class. They are not the ones who are the last. They are very bright. And it's not a mental issue. It's just that they are idle. It's not. It's not a mental issue.
Another point of order from Senator Pareno.
I'm asking if I can give information and not a point of order. Madam Speaker, I know that Senator Mutula, being a lawyer by profession, definitely knows that we have Boston institutions, and it would be good to say that the middle ground between what Senator Petronila is saying and what Senator Mutula is saying is that we actually have institutions for such young people who are criminal in nature, and therefore they can be charged as criminal, but then put in under Boston institutions for correction. So we should not just treat it lightly.
Okay, Mutula, I want you to finish, but I think a number of the issues that are coming out demand that the committee sits.
Yes.
Where there is clash between the current law and what we think should be done, bring those proposals, and then it shall be addressed.
I want to finish.
So that I want so that we get the lawyers out of the law part. But they have given us a lot of input that I think the committee should take note of. Thank you.
And I want to respond to that with just one point. There's a Boston institution in Kakamega called Shikuza Boston Institution. And when I was sitting in the Special Select Committee of Prisons, I went there. Let me tell you, it was such a sad picture to find 500 boys committed to such an institution. And by the time these have been adjudged criminals, a boy gave us testimony, one of them gave us testimony that by the time he ended up in Shikuza prison, the time he was spending in the police station, before he was finally sentenced to that prison, he was sodomized continuously. Now, when you see the situation in those Boston institutions, you are sure, and we were sure as the committee, that these boys would end up in more crime by the time they leave that institution. And therefore, these things are important. It's not to commitment them into those institutions. It's to separate these people and to find a way of punishment so that the people behind them don't think it's okay to ban a school, and after all, I'll be taken to an institution to check my mental faculty. You see? Because the incentive just to go for a weekend, to go and meet a girlfriend, to go for Valentine, not to do an exam, is not a mental issue. It's just bad upbringing. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll give you last. Because there are a number of things that you need to take note of. Senator Masitsa Naomi, please let's take 2 minutes.
Even one.
Because, even one, because I've seen Senator Wambua wants another 2.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to add my voice to the statement. And I want to say that much has changed in the education system, especially when it comes to learning, our learning institutes, which has mostly contributed to the change also on behavior of our children. And I would only want to advise the committee when they are sitting that they should also address the issue of introduction of approved schools so that we can have the change of behavior in those institutes. Those schools, if they are introduced or institute, they will help these children whereby they cannot be sent straight away to jail or police custody, but they can be disciplined through those institutes, and they can actually change and go back to the learning institute after learning what the changes that they are supposed to achieve. Lastly, I would like to say that also us as parents, we have done so harm as a government by introducing the Zoom learning system. This also has exposed our children so much. When the committee is looking at that, let us look at how far the damage we have done to our children by introduction of the Zoom learning, and where children have been introduced to so much that unlike what we expected them to do. Also, introduction of sanitizers in school, where we were told as parents to have the sanitizers. So the challenges these children are going in, banning of schools, has been contributed to with so many things that we made irrational decisions towards improving our children, whereas we are doing more harm to them than good. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Wambua Enoch. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's actually in my interest to spend less than 2 minutes because I also want opportunity to move my bill for debate. Madam Speaker, I will say only 2 things. One, the incidence of arson in schools is becoming a bit worrying. And there is, Madam Speaker, a need for us even as leaders to sit back and ask ourselves a big question. How come when one school burns, then a second school burns, then it becomes a trend, and it's like students and pupils are competing who burns more than the other person? But, Madam Speaker, I tend to agree with the sentiments expressed by Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. that whatever we call it, the punishment for burning schools must be severe. The punishment must be really, really severe, so that it serves as a warning and a lesson to other children who want to trend in that manner. Secondly, Madam Speaker, there will be need for school management boards, school administrations, and parents, and the pupils and students themselves to have a lot more sessions and talk and discuss issues. There is now a very raging debate now as whether we should return corporal punishment to schools or we should not. Madam Speaker, when we went to school and we made mistakes, we were beaten, seriously beaten. And I believe that is the reason why some of us are here. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Finally, Senator Mogeni, Eric Okongo, then the chair can make a remark.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have been students before, but I don't remember during my school days having seen the kind of indiscipline, the kind of destruction of property that I've seen from our schools during this year of 2020. To be very honest, it is something that should worry all of us who are parents. And certainly, Madam Speaker, anybody sitting in government as a minister for education should be worried. Madam Speaker, we were even students at the University of Nairobi, and I have colleagues who are with me here, including Senator Pareno. But anytime we wanted to demonstrate against either the administration or the government of the day, we never resorted to burning the property that belonged to the university, where we were taking our meals, where we used to go for our studies, or where we used to sleep. It's not right for students to burn premises that provide education to these students. I'm suspecting, Madam Speaker, that there is a serious problem of drug abuse in our schools. And in all this, as all this is unfolding, there's misfortune, Madam Speaker, is that I've not seen any intervention from NECADA, meaning, Madam Speaker, that chances are that these very susceptible students have become clients of drug peddlers, because you can only do certain things under the influence of drugs, Madam Speaker. And I will propose the Committee of Education, which has very able senators, to summon the head of NECADA to appear before them and give information to this House whether they have done any steps to tackle the problem of drugs amongst our students in schools. Madam Speaker, there is also a problem of us legislators, because we don't have stiff penalties against people who peddle drugs. Madam Speaker, if you go to China, if you are caught peddling hard drugs, the first consequence is that you will never be granted bail. But in this country, you can be peddling drugs today, you are charged today, tomorrow you are released on bail, and you continue messing up with these our young children. We are losing a whole generation, Madam Speaker. Whom are we going to hand the baton of leadership to if we leave our students to be destroyed by drugs? And we have set up this body, it has been given money. We need to see that it is doing something to protect our children. Finally, Madam Speaker, we really must have mentors, people who must go back to our schools and speak to these children. Madam Speaker, if you are charged with a criminal offense at age 16, you have literally messed up your future. If you want to seek even admission to some universities out of the country, you will never be cleared. So we need to, Madam Speaker, ask whether the Ministry of Education has put in place enough mechanisms for mentorship programs back in our schools. Madam Speaker, I know my time is up, Madam Speaker. I hope that this committee that will address this matter will take this matter seriously for the sake of our future leaders, because our children are our future leaders. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Finally, the chair of the committee, Dr. Alice Chepkorir-Milko.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me first of all start by thanking the senators, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka and Senator Petrolina Were, and all my colleagues for bringing such pertinent issues touching on education, especially right now. Indeed, my committee had already planned its work, and we have work cut out that is applicable to PWDs. We want to look at the pedagogy. We want to look at the learning institutions where we have these kids. We also want to look at the learning devices as well as the teachers. And we already have a work plan towards that. That is one of the statements that Senator Kwamboka gave. And this one is in line with SDG number 4, where we do not want anyone to be left behind. We know we've got a few years to ensure that this one here is achieved by the year 2030. And so PWDs in this case should all be brought on board. And I want to say there are many issues that have been raised around even the school banning. We've talked of drugs and substance abuse. Many other people have talked of maybe even just issues of play, like I think Senator Motula Kilonzo Jr. say that some kids are even very proud, but they'll go out to ban schools. However, we know there is an interplay between all these. We have kids who will take up drugs. We have kids who maybe even be having mental cases, and therefore this committee will actually even consult the Hansard so that we take up all these issues that have been raised, and I'm sure we shall give it our energies to ensure that we actually interrogate all these issues touching drugs, touching what happened especially after COVID and the long stay away from learning institutions of our kids, because we found out that after 7 months being away from the learning institutions, kids came to school and started the banning sprees or banning schools, one school after another. It's like actually playing around, because one school would look at others and borrow from their neighbors how they went around panning, and after a short while, we discovered that they are panning their schools also. In the past, I think there was a year where there was a lot of panning of schools as well, and the government was able to set up some task force. And what came up mostly was the fact that there was devil worship in schools, and in addition to that, much of the issues were blamed on teachers, that the teachers are not serious, there are no proper guidance and counseling. But I think this time, as a committee, we want to actually get to the bottom of this to find out and actually establish what is causing all this, more specifically after a long recess. But what came out seriously was that students are well taken care of in schools more than at home. I think some of my colleagues were talking about corporal punishment. That was actually stopped a long time ago by a bill, and that it is now illegal to actually make corporal punishment on kids. And maybe somebody was actually speaking to issues of when we were in school, we were beaten. That was another generation. We are in a new generation, and the generation that we are having is the ones that we raised ourselves, and we actually raised them, telling them there should be no beating or no corporal punishment. And we have seen, in most cases, normally when kids are beaten, sometimes we have parents going to school, even with pangas, to go and actually fight the teachers. So I think we are going to look at this again against the acts that are there that are affecting this, and at the end of this, I think we shall come out with some kind of solution. However, we have to appreciate the fact that of late there is a lot of mental case issues. I think we shall also look at that, and I'm sure we shall invite the necessary stakeholders, and at the conclusion, we shall come to this house with some fair solution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Chair of the committee. That finishes the statement hour. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on motions.
Leader of majority.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant Standing Order 1061, the Senate resolves that the debate on a motion not sponsored by the majority or minority party of the committee or a committee shall be limited in the following manner. A maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover, 20 minutes for the majority party official responder, 20 minutes for the minority party official responder, and 15 minutes for each other senator speaking, and that 15 minutes before time expires, the mover shall be called upon to reply. Madam Speaker, being it's a procedural motion, limitation of debate or time given to particular motions. Madam Speaker, I'd like to move that the members approve this. It is just simply giving us a process for specific motions, how much time we give each other. It should not be contentious at all. It's also very important that we see the speaking orders and the fact that each member has enough time to deal with these particular motions. This is the first of such procedural motions, and I beg to move and ask the minority whip who is here to second. I thank you.
Thank you, Minority Whip.
I rise to second that motion. I think we have learned from past experience that brevity is actually a better way of doing things. Even the 15 minutes is far too long. But it's a maximum that we can, and I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senators. I now propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 1061, the Senate resolves that the debate on a motion not sponsored by the majority or minority party or a committee shall be limited in the following manner: a maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover, 20 minutes for the majority party official responder, 20 minutes for the minority party official responder, and 15 minutes for each other senator speaking, and that 15 minutes before the time expires, the mover shall be called upon to reply. There seeing no contribution, I now put a question that pursuant to Standing Order number 1061, the Senate resolves that debate on a motion not sponsored by the majority or minority party or a committee shall be limited in the following manner: a maximum of 3 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover, 20 minutes for the majority party official responder, 20 minutes for the minority party official responder, and 15 minutes for each other senator speaking, and that 15 minutes before the time expires, the mover shall be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, procedural motion, limitation of debate on adjournment motion.
Leader of majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 1061, the debate on any motion for the adjournment of Senate to a day other than the next normal sitting day, in accordance with the calendar of the Senate, shall be limited to a maximum of 2 hours with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, after which the Senate shall adjourn without question put, provided that when the period of recess proposed by any such motion does not exceed 9 calendar days, the debate shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes and shall be confined to the question of adjournment. Again, Madam Speaker, this is procedural, simply making sure that it's clear that for an adjournment motion, these are the specifications on how long it will take and how much time each member will have. For this one, since there will be no question put, it is simply giving time for each member speaking. Madam Speaker, it only clarifies that the debate shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes and shall be confined to the question of that adjournment when the period of the recess proposed is less than 9 calendar days. And so, Madam Speaker, I think I just say this is procedural. It is something that accommodates us all, and in our calendar, it will be very important for us to note and for members to support this particular motion. I beg to move and ask the minority whip to second. Thank you.
Minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion. It's procedural, nothing contentious, and very useful to the orderly conduct of our business. I support and second. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order number 1061, the debate on any motion for the adjournment of the Senate to a day other than the next normal sitting day, in accordance with the calendar of the Senate, shall be limited to a maximum of 2 hours with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, after which the Senate shall adjourn without question put, provided that when the period of recess proposed by any such motion does not exceed 9 calendar days, the debate shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes and shall be confined to the question of adjournment. Honorable Senators, since I don't see any request, I now put the question that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 1061, the debate on any motion for the adjournment of the Senate to a day other than the next normal sitting day in accordance with the calendar of the Senate shall be limited to a maximum of 2 hours with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, after which the Senate shall adjourn without question put, provided that when the period of recess proposed by any such motion does not exceed 9 calendar days, the debate shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes and shall be confined to the question of adjournment. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, procedural motion, limitation of debate on motion on the address by His Excellency the President.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 1061, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to Standing Order 1061, the Senate resolves that the debate on the motion on the presidential address shall be limited to a maximum of 3 sitting days with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, excluding the mover in moving and replying, who shall be limited to 30 minutes. In either case, and that the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader shall be limited to 30 minutes each. Madam Speaker, again, these procedural motions pave way for the debate that is now going to succeed these procedural motions. And I know that one such motion is the one that Senator Enoch Wambo is anxiously waiting to continue with, and that the next one, of course, the cooperative societies by Dr. Agnes Zanning, and any other motion. But this particular one is specific to the motion on the address of the President, which happens once every year, and in specific time, and during which motion we normally have to speak limited to 3 days, and during that time we can be told that depending on, Madam Speaker, depending on how fast or how much we want to speak, we are limited to 3 days, and we must complete it within 3 days. And so we're trying to see in this motion that 15 minutes for each senator is sufficient, and except for the leadership that has 30 minutes and the mover. And so this is procedural. It has absolutely no contest or controversy or even contradictions. It is something that I ask the members to support, Madam Speaker, and therefore I beg to move and ask the Senate Minority Whip to second. I thank you.
Minority Whip.
I second the motion, and it being procedural and nothing contentious, I have nothing useful to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senators. I now propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 1061, the Senate resolves that the debate on the motion on the presidential address shall be limited to a maximum of 3 sitting days with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, excluding the mover in moving and replying, which shall be limited to 30 minutes in either case, and that the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader shall be limited to 30 minutes each. Since I don't see requests for contribution, I now put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 1061, the Senate resolves that the debate on the motion on the presidential address shall be limited to a maximum of 3 sitting days with not more than 15 minutes for each senator speaking, excluding the mover in moving and replying, who shall be limited to 30 minutes in either case, and that the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader shall be limited to 30 minutes each. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, the Mung Beans Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2020, second reading.
Senator Enoch Wambua.
Madam Speaker, I would like to move the Mung Beans Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2020, be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to first thank the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries for doing a very good job at public participation on this bill. I would want to thank the Office of the Clerk of the Senate and your office, Madam Speaker, for facilitating the publication of this bill. Madam Speaker, in a nutshell, the bill that I'm now moving to be read a second time, Madam Speaker, seeks to provide a legislative framework for the establishment and enforcement for the development, regulation, and promotion of the mung bean sector in Kenya. And Madam Speaker, for purposes of this nation and for the purposes of Kenyan farmers who are following us, allow me, Madam Speaker, to further make reference to ndengu, which actually is mung beans. And because dengu is a common name that Kenyans understand, the bill that we are moving, Madam Speaker, is a ndengu bill. Madam Speaker, before I go into the contents of the bill, I would want to give some background information revolving around the reasoning behind what inspired me to sponsor this bill. Dengu, Madam Speaker, grow in arid and semi-arid regions, and if they are properly grown and tended, Madam Speaker, they could be a major, major source of income and livelihood for millions of Kenyans. Madam Speaker, I would want to take my colleagues through what I consider to be the real inspiration for me sponsoring this bill. Sometimes, Madam Speaker, early last year, I drove through a market called Sikuru. Sikuru town is in Sikuru ward in Mwingi North constituency. And I was on my way to the farthest end of Kitui, Kaningo. And at Sikuru market, Madam Speaker, I found a very long queue of trucks and traders who had invaded the market. And on this particular day, which was a market day, they were loading thousands upon thousands of bags of ndengu on their trucks. And so I created interest, Madam Speaker, to find out what was happening. And I realized that these business people, these traders, were actually buying ndengu from farmers at a price of between 20 and 25 shillings per kilo and loading them in their trucks, many, many trucks. I got curious, Madam Speaker. Upon returning to Nairobi, I went to a supermarket along Mombasa Road to just check the price of ndengu. And Madam Speaker, I was surprised to discover that the ndengu on the shelves of the supermarket were going for between 220 shillings and 250 shillings per kilogram. And when I looked at what was being sold in the shelves of the supermarkets and what was being sold at Sikuru town, there was absolutely no difference, Madam Speaker. Only that the ndengu in the shelves of the supermarket were branded and packaged in polythene bags. Madam Speaker, I developed interest and decided to do something with the help of colleagues to stop the exploitation of ndengu farmers in this country by middlemen. Madam Speaker, I am a strong advocate for fair treatment for farmers across the value chains, Madam Speaker. Be it maize farmers, cane farmers, tea farmers, coffee farmers. Madam Speaker, I have gone on record many times on the floor of this House and in other forums, pushing forward the agenda of empowering our farmers and protecting them from exploitation by middlemen. Madam Speaker, it is only in this country that, and I've said this many times, that an ordinary tea farmer from Kericho, an ordinary coffee farmer from Nyeri cannot afford instant coffee or instant tea, and yet they produce it. Madam Speaker, to the credit of their representatives in this Senate, in the National Assembly, in the county assemblies across this country, the plight of these farmers has consistently been a matter of constructive engagement to save them. And Madam Speaker, in the same breath, I am moving the Mang Beans Bill to bring national attention to the plight of ndengu farmers in other sections of this country. My pastoralist colleagues, and I have seen Senator Pareno is here, Senator Milgo, Senator Faria is here. My pastoralist colleagues, Madam Speaker, are pushing forward the agenda of their livestock farmers, and we will support them to save them from exploitation. Together, Madam Speaker, all of us, we shall make farmers all over the country the real pride of our nation if we protect them from exploitation, because really they are the pride of our nation. Madam Speaker, I'm speaking to shared prosperity across all the value chains in the agriculture sector. Now, Madam Speaker, going back to the bill, Madam Speaker, in 2013, two acts of parliament were passed. The Agriculture and Food Authority Act and the Crops Act, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know I have consulted very widely on this bill. The last consultation that I've had was with you, Madam Speaker, in your capacity as my teacher, in your capacity as the senator of Uasin Gishu. I've also consulted other colleagues, including my brother, my friend, my neighbor, the senator of Makueni. And I know if he gets time, he will be speaking to this. That, Madam Speaker, under the Crops Act, which lists tens of crops grown in this country, somebody, and I don't want to blame anyone, never thought that Ndengu should find mention among crops grown in this country. Madam Speaker, that will explain to you why I have been very consistent saying I do not want Ndengu to be classified among its pulses because you lose the focus. Madam Speaker, the Food Crops Directorate under the Agriculture and Food Authority is supposed to manage the development of mung beans, including regulation and marketing. But, Madam Speaker, records will bear me out that the Crops Directorate has done very little, if anything, to deal with mung beans, to deal with Ndengu. And so, Madam Speaker, that is why, in consultation with colleagues, I've come up with this bill so that, Madam Speaker, we place Ndengu and the Ndengu farmers where they belong. Madam Speaker, according to the Economic Review of Agriculture of 2015, because that's the latest record that we have, the area under Ndengu in this country increased over the years from 147,352 hectares in 2010 to 259,167 hectares in 2014. And this led to an increase in production from 680,000 bags in 2010 to 1.345 million bags of Ndengu in 2014. The production to date, Madam Speaker, is even much, much higher. But because Ndengu is not regulated, because you have no records and there's no obligation on the part of the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and the county member, executive member, responsible for agriculture in the counties, there is no proper record as to how much Ndengu do we have in the market today, how many farmers are growing Ndengu, what varieties are available in the market today. So, Madam Speaker, because of the potential that I see in the Ndengu, which could ensure food security and its ability to grow into an economic mainstay, Madam Speaker, I've developed and continue to pursue this bill. Now, Speaker, the beauty of this bill is that it actually seeks to delineate the role of the national and county governments in relation to the Constitution, and specifically in regard to growing, processing, and marketing of Ndengu. And the roles are so very clearly defined, Madam Speaker, in the bill that I have proposed, that we intend to create a structure and infuse order in the production of Ndengu across all the regions where it is grown. Responsibilities have been assigned, Madam Speaker, to the Cabinet Secretary, who will set national policy and regulation of the sector in consultation with our stakeholders. The AFA has been given the responsibility to ensure implementation and compliance with national standards for the production and marketing of Ndengu. The County Executive Committee member responsible for agriculture, where dengu is grown, has been assigned the role to facilitate farmers to ensure that they are able to grow and nurture their crop through provision of farm inputs, including seeds, fertilizer, and extension services. Madam Speaker, we have also assigned roles to farmers that if you want to engage in dengu production, and especially commercial farmers, there will be a requirement and a responsibility for you as a farmer to register with the county government where you're growing your crop, giving proper details of the acreage on which you're putting your crop, the variety of the crop that you're going to be growing, and the challenges that you're facing in growing dengu. The traders, Madam Speaker, have also been assigned a responsibility to register and acquire licenses from the county executive member responsible for agriculture in the county, and an ascribed, a prescribed form, application form, will be developed for that purpose. Madam Speaker, to get now to the details of this bill, whose objective, Madam Speaker, I said, is to develop production and marketing of dengu, to support farmers at the farms and in the market, ensure food security through national and county feeding programs, and most importantly, bring to an end decades of exploitation of our farmers, Madam Speaker, by the middlemen. Madam Speaker, part 2 of the bill is the one that establishes responsibilities for the national and county governments. And in order to realize the objectives as set out under Section 3 of the authority, the AFA is required by this bill, Madam Speaker, to put in place measures to improve the overall production of mung beans in the country, to establish and coordinate and monitor the implementation of national standards and policies relating to the mung bean industry, provide technical assistance and capacity building to county governments on its own initiative or upon request by a county government. Madam Speaker, remember I've just said that since the establishment of AFA and since the passing of the Crops Act, Madam Speaker, nothing or very little has been done by these institutions to give focus to the production and marketing of dengu. And arising from that, Madam Speaker, we have all borne witness to attempts by county governors to get their farmers grow dengu with a promise that they will find market for the crop. Madam Speaker, where it has been tried, that initiative has failed miserably. I do not blame the county governors for trying. I blame AFA for doing nothing about it. Madam Speaker, that's why we are saying, so that our farmers are not at the mercy of people who have had time since 2013 to do something for them and they have done nothing. Why then can we have a law? Like we have a law, an act that regulates tea and coffee. Why can then we have a law that regulates the production of dengu in this country so that those farmers, those Kenyan farmers, Madam Speaker, in those areas of our country that are rain deficit, can also have something to grow and sell and pay their bills, feed their children, pay the school fees, and pay their medical expenses. Madam Speaker, there has been a demonstration that AFA, in its current form, has not and may not be in a position to help dengue farmers. That we need an act, a separate act, to ensure that our farmers are protected in the farms, as I said, and in the market. Madam Speaker, this bill goes on to state the duties of the county executive committee members in ensuring that our farmers are protected. And it says at Article 5 that for the realization of the objectives set out under Section 3, a county executive committee member shall put in place measures to improve the quality and quantity of the production of mung beans within the county, provide agricultural extension services to the growers in the respective county. And Madam Speaker, that part of provision of extension services is very key to the success of the implementation of this act, Madam Speaker. A lot of us, Madam Speaker, even not all of us, when we were growing up, we used to encounter agricultural extension officers at our homes almost on a daily basis, coming to check on our farms, on our animals, to ensure that we are food secure. Madam Speaker, when the rain started beating us, the extension officers disappeared, and production of food and the well-being of the livestock industry in this country went south. Madam Speaker, we are saying, specific to this dengue bill, a responsibility will be put on the county governments through the minister in charge of agriculture to ensure that there are extension workers. And we have a lot of graduates, Madam Speaker, from agricultural institutions all over the country who are idle. They have no jobs to do. These are people that the county governments can employ and ensure that they go around the farms to undertake activities, Madam Speaker, aimed at supporting our farmers to produce a good quality and quantity of dengue. Madam Speaker, another important responsibility for the county government through the minister is to market dengue produced in the respective county, both locally and at the international level. Madam Speaker, you remember that sometimes last year, this Senate debated and passed the warehousing bill. Madam Speaker, some of these bills that we are passing on the floor of this House are not just idle bills. Madam Speaker, riding on the passage of that bill, I'm thinking that even county governments take control of warehousing, and then they facilitate their farmers to form farmers' cooperative societies for dengue. And then the dengue that is grown in a county is collated and stored in the warehousing where the county government is responsible and is answerable to the cooperatives. Then what we'll be able to do, Madam Speaker, by that act is to cut the middleman, to make sure that they don't have a direct link with an individual farmer, that if they want to go and buy dengue for export of the local market, from Kitui, they go to the warehouse, they buy the dengu from there. The county government will have capacity to negotiate a better price for the farmers, and our farmers, Madam Speaker, will be protected. That's what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, this bill, looked at against other bills, will help us to make a move in the right direction. The county government, Madam Speaker, is also required under this act to promote the circulation and access to timely market information by growers, to avoid again the situation that I mentioned earlier, Madam Speaker, where farmers are told to grow maize in anticipation of selling to an unknown buyer someplace outside this country. For our case in Kitui, it was India. And then something happens, you are unable to sell that dengu, and farmers are left with hundreds of thousands of tons of dengu without a market. Madam Speaker, this bill, and I want to move a bit faster so that I can give colleagues an opportunity to weigh in. On the matter of setting up the mang bean policy, Madam Speaker, this act requires the Cabinet Secretary at the national government responsible for agriculture that within 6 months of the commencement of this act, the Cabinet Secretary shall develop and adopt a comprehensive national mang bean policy to promote growth and development of the mang bean industry in Kenya. I like that provision, Madam Speaker, for one reason. That it's not an open-ended obligation. There is a timeline to it. That once this House, with concurrence from the National Assembly, passes this bill into an act of parliament, within 6 months, the minister responsible for agriculture has an obligation to develop national policies on the production and marketing of dengu. Madam Speaker, that will really help our farmers. But it does not stop there, Madam Speaker. It goes ahead to say that in developing the national mang bean policy, the Cabinet Secretary, so that it does not have an open check to decide what kind of policy to develop for this industry, that he shall have regard to, one, the need for an effective management and implementation structure at the national and county levels of government in order to ensure the effective development of the mang bean industry. Two, he must have regard to adequate capacity development and support for growers and other stakeholders in the mang bean industry. Madam Speaker, the inclusion of farmers and the building of capacity for farmers is deliberate. So that, Madam Speaker, because if you leave it open, what will happen is that policies will be developed which actually advance the cause of the middlemen. But this bill is very clear that as we develop those policies, then those policies are supposed to put the farmer at the center of decision-making when it comes to regulation of the industry. We have seen what is happening, Madam Speaker, in other crop value chains where specificity is not available on what direction the minister should take in developing policy. So, Madam Speaker, this bill takes care of that. Madam Speaker, Part 3 on the regulatory provisions, Clause 8, Madam Speaker, it states, and this on the requirement for registration by growers, and I'll explain that a bit, Madam Speaker, that every grower shall register with the relevant county executive committee member. Each county executive committee member shall maintain a register of all dengue growers registered in the respective county under subsection 1, specifying 1, the name of the grower, 2, the location, size, and parcel number of the land on which dengue is grown, the variety of the mang being grown. Madam Speaker, this is very crucial. Crucial because, Madam Speaker, we should move towards a direction as a nation where we have our facts right and our statistics right. Today, Madam Speaker, it may not be very possible for anyone to tell you precisely how many coffee farmers do we have in this country, how much land has been dedicated to tea farming in this country. Madam Speaker, this bill, what it tries to do is to make it even easier for governors and easier for presidents and easier for ministers, that at the click of a button, you know how many dengue farmers you have in this country with their names. You know the acreage, the amount of land that has been dedicated to the production of dengue in this country, and you know what varieties are being grown in this country. Mr. Speaker, that becomes very important information, even when it comes with discussions with financing institutions on acquiring loans and grants to help the cause of farmers. So, Mr. Speaker, that responsibility, this bill gives that responsibility to county governments through their ministers responsible for agriculture. Madam Speaker, I had spoken about the issue of the licenses, that the traders will have to be licensed by the county governments and regulated in regard to the extent to which they interact with the dengue farmers in all the respective counties. And there will be prescribed application forms for licenses for the traders, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so that I don't take all the time moving this bill, which is a straightforward, Madam Speaker, self-explanatory bill, as I urge my colleagues, Madam Speaker, to support this bill. That, Madam Speaker, in supporting this bill, this Senate will be discharging its responsibility to take care of the interests of our people in our counties. And, Madam Speaker, it should not be misconstrued that this bill is just targeted at one county in this country or two counties in this country. Madam Speaker, just a casual look at the regions where this dengue can be grown, starting, Madam Speaker, all the way from Taita Taveta to Kajiado, Madam Speaker, where you come from, to Makueni, to Machakos, to Kitui, to Embu, to Meru, to Tharaka Nithi. Madam Speaker, a huge section of this country can be facilitated and supported to grow dengue, to do two things, Madam Speaker, which are very important. One, to provide a livelihood to hundreds and thousands of Kenyans. And, Madam Speaker, as we provide that livelihood to the farmers directly, it also provides a livelihood in terms of direct and indirect employment for millions of Kenyans, Madam Speaker. This bill, Madam Speaker, if it succeeds, and I know it will also give us an opportunity to expand the menu for our feeding programs for schools and for our military, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to urge members to really and truly support this bill, so that, Madam Speaker, we begin to show as a Senate that indeed we care for our farmers, we care for the future of this nation. Madam Speaker, with those few or many remarks, I beg to move that the Mung Beans Bill 2020 be now read a second time and call upon Senator Faria to second. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Faria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to second. And I wish to thank Senator Wambua for this bill, because, Madam Speaker, strangely, even if I am from a community that eats more meat than beans, dengue happens to be one of my favorite source of protein. Because, Madam Speaker, and I have learned, because I like it, I have learned to cook dengue with a lot of spices, and it is so sweet that you can't believe that the taste of dengue that you used to know in school is totally different from what I am able to cook with dengue. And I really thank people who grow dengue, especially the dengue from Makueni County, Madam Speaker. It cooks in, very short time, Madam Speaker. And actually, when I go to the supermarket, I look for where is Makueni in dengue, because it really cooks very fast. And, Madam Speaker, the dengue, people I don't think have appreciated in terms of the nutritional value of dengue, Madam Speaker. It has high level of antioxidant that reduces the level of chronic diseases. Madam Speaker, it is rich in potassium, magnesium, fiber, which reduces blood pressure. And I think Senator Mutula and Senator Wambua should give me some work to do marketing for dengue, because I could go on and on if I am allowed to continue, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, and therefore, because I consume a lot of dengue, I think if a lot of people even also adopted that habit of eating dengue, then it can become a source of livelihood for so many farmers who depend on this crop for their livelihoods, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other thing I wanted to mention is that, Madam Speaker, given that Kitui County is just neighbors to Garissa and then by extension Wajir, those areas, I want to challenge our governors also to do some research to find out which variety of dengue can grow in those regions, so that we stop depending only, we have some level of agriculture. Given devolution, Madam Speaker, has brought a lot of changes in the counties. And some of the, like in Wajir County, we grow a lot of lemons, we grow a lot of pawpaws, we grow one of the sweetest melons in this country. So because of the development of county government, I think this is another area that is good to do research to find out what variety grows there, Madam Speaker. And then there is also, of course, if you want to develop agriculture, the main problem in our counties, which is provision of water, must be addressed. And I am glad that BBI is adding more funds to the counties so that more of this great work that counties need to do continue doing. But I also challenge the citizens of those counties to ensure that they elect governors that are not corrupt, who can who can make a difference to the people, to their people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I like the fact that Senator Wambua in section 7 has only allowed the ministry to do only six months in terms of developing policy. Madam Speaker, I would request him, if he agrees, Senator Mwambua, just listen to what I'm saying, please. Instead of saying develop a policy, I urge you to say develop a regulation, because if they develop the right regulation, even the policy, the bill will become a crystal clear, so that everything around regulation can be addressed at the same time. So I urge you to change from policy to regulation so that it is the bill is effective. Madam Speaker, the other thing that I saw that I didn't, I like the fact that there is a penalty. But Madam Speaker, if you look at a penalty of 5,000 shillings, is not enough penalty, Madam Speaker. Because if I am going to make 100 million for not following these rules, and all I have to pay is only 5,000, so be it. Let me be caught and pay the 5,000, but the other time that I'm not caught, I make millions of money. So I believe deterrent of 6 months and 5,000 is not stringent enough for anybody to feel that violation will be affected, depending on how much they are able to make out of that. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to second, and I urge all my colleagues to support this, because ensuring that the dengue, this bill, when it is passed, will make a lot of difference to the people. Madam Speaker, the other issue also, sorry, there's something else I forgot to add, is that once this bill is passed, a lot of people whose rights were being violated by middlemen and women, the women are fewer anyway, we will ensure that there is incentive to grow this food, and we can even reach a level where we can export these products, because, I mean, it's great. And Madam Speaker, I support, and I beg to second.
I now propose that the Mag Bins Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2020, be read a second time. Senator Kilonzo Mutula Jr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hope, first I want to thank Senator Wambua for this bill. It surprised me a little that, just like he said, that the Crops Act would ignore or leave out this very important crop called dengue. Now that I've learned it's called magbin, I didn't know that. Madam Speaker, it's indeed a tragedy that the people of Kitui, Makueni, Meru, Embu, and I'm glad Professor Kindiki is now here, Tharaka Nithi, had a glut of this dengue. In fact, last week, and I wanted to mention this when Senator Wambua was listening, last week I had the privilege of meeting the ambassador, the consular general in Dubai. This gentleman planted a lot of magbin, but when he discovered that the price was 20 shillings a kilo, he just ended up donating the dengues to his family. It was such a waste. Yet this crop, together with the crop we grow in the seasons in Ukambani that is famously known as Nzo, is a crop that has got high nutritional value. This crop, Madam Speaker, can withstand the vagaries of weather. You can keep it for a long time without necessarily using a lot of the pesticides. It's resistant, and this crop can be used when we have drought. What surprised me at the time is that even when the governors pleaded with national government that this should be a strategic grain reserve and the national government for purposes of food security should in fact purchase this from farmers, the national government turned a blind eye. So it's not by surprise that Senator Wambua, instead of even proposing an amendment to the Cash Crops Act or the Crops Act, Madam Speaker, Senator Wambua has proposed that we actually have a separate legislation. Now let me pose this question to the senators. Does it surprise you, my dear colleagues, that we put so much emphasis on a crop called Mira, and I have nothing against Mira, so much emphasis that we have allowed miras to be exported out of the country. And miraa farmers are billionaires. And it's not it doesn't contribute to food security. Madam Speaker, would it surprise you that Emirates Airlines is flying into Eldoret to collect flowers? Flowers which are going to Amsterdam, Lilongwe, and other destinations in Europe. The people who are growing flowers in Kenya are billionaires. Would it surprise you, Madam Speaker, that the people who are growing tea, a majority of them are billionaires? All these, either flowers, tea, are not contributing to food security. But there's some emphasis that has been put on these crops so that a few people, a few Kenyans are making money, and the ones who would contribute food security, like the ones who are growing ndengus, are ignored. This crop grows so quickly. This crop is so nutritious. This crop, Madam Speaker, gives me heartburns, but I still consume it because I enjoy it. Mr. Speaker, the ordinary farmers of coffee, livestock, soybeans are poor. I wanted to inform Senator Wambua, and he's here, that Safaricom introduced something called DigiFarm. Now, DigiFarm, Madam Speaker, is supposed to be a collection or a platform where you can have coffee farmers, tea farmers, ndengu farmers, miraa farmers, known from wherever location they are, so that Safaricom can offer money to them. What ideally government should be doing to offer seed, to offer insecticides, to offer farm inputs, Safaricom actually came up with that scheme. And Madam Speaker, these are people who are doing this for profit. How much more would the government do? And the government should care for its people if they did the same for people like the ones who are growing dengue. So I'm happy that Senator Wambua has proposed this. And I want to tell him, Madam Speaker, that framework already exists. I was in a trip last week, and I sat, and I want, and particularly yourself, because you are a livestock farmer. The minister in charge of trade in the UAE government, Dubai, told us they are looking for livestock. They're importing livestock from Australia. I don't even want to ask you, Madam Speaker, how many heads of livestock you have, and how fast you would have those heads of livestock transported to Dubai. And same with Senator Faria, and from those people who keep a minimum of 500 heads of cattle per person. They said, what is so difficult about Kenya going to get the breed from Australia that we are importing, which is so far away, and give us the livestock we want? Second, they asked about soybean. They said, if we were to do a balance of trade with you, we would want to have soybean. Yet it can grow here. The balance of trade between Kenya and UAE is 123 billion against 23 billion shillings. Yet we have all these things available, including dengue. Now, there's a variation of dengue called dal. It's eaten in a lot of parts of Asia, including India. It's a staple food. Every menu, every meal, including breakfast, has got dal. And people are suffering. And this crop is going to waste. Madam Speaker, when sometimes I hear the conversations going out in the public domain about poor people in Kenya, I believe that some of it is deliberate. We make Kenyans poor so that we take advantage. I've just read a statement this afternoon about a speech read in the Kirinyaga County Assembly about the production of 1 million eggs. I was very surprised that we are actually importing eggs from Uganda. I was very pleased to read that statement that in fact now cotton farmers are being given seed. Why? Because we are importing genetically modified cotton from Tanzania through racketeers. Same thing, that we have impoverished Kenyans. We have impoverished Kenyans to the extent that when we offer them GMO cotton seeds, and then make sure that the people who are growing genuine cotton get nothing out of it, we impoverish them, and then it looks like we are doing a favor to them. the value chain. I don't know whether you are aware of a company, and this company, I must disclose, is run by a gentleman I know, and the wife was in my class. Twiga Foods. What is Twiga Foods doing? Twiga Foods comes to your farm, and if you have a farm, they check your pH for your soil. They check the water for the pH, acidity, etc., etc. They offer you seed to grow whatever you want to grow, whether it's cabbages, vegetables, etc., etc. 50 acres, 100 acres. And then, after you grow, and they check as you grow it, they come and pick that product and pay you on the spot. You'll be surprised the vegetable vendors that you find around Lavington, etc., etc., with very nice looking bananas and oranges are actually getting this from Twiga Foods. And Twiga Foods is doing the A to Z of farming. And it's a private company. Why can't government, county governments that have resources, do the same? And it's not difficult that they do those sort of things. Somebody asked about livestock in Kenya, and they said, what is the acidity or value, pH of soil in northeastern for purposes of livestock? Why hasn't anybody in the county government answered that question? Nobody has answered that question. But the question is important because it goes to the value of the beef. Now, why is it difficult for county governments or the economic blocks, NOREF, which has a bank, to do export of beef to UAE, for example? Or the economic blocks that exist in Lake Victoria? I was surprised to learn, Madam Speaker, that there is a company by the name DP World. DP World has agreed to do a cold storage for Rwanda, a landlocked nation. I don't know whether I think Makueni is bigger than Rwanda. But they have a cold storage, and they are now exploiting what would be blue economy. Which one? Can't we, for example, do the same for the fish farmers in Kisumu and exploit the Nile Basin? I'm told Uganda has gotten also into a deal with them about using the Nile Basin for purposes of their fish. And whilst this communication was given to some functionaries in the government of Kenya, they were told Rwanda is going to overtake you. They said, overtake you to go where? In fact, when we were doing the tea regulations last month on 29th of December, the senators sent us clips about the coffee and tea in Rwanda. They are selling 100% of their tea in tea auction is being purchased, and they're making a lot of money. Although President Kagame has decided to sit at the top of the board for purposes of these cash crops, we still can do a little better because we have competent people who can do so. Madam Speaker, it cannot be gainsaid that for purposes of posterity, for purposes of prosperity of Kenyans, I think that we can, all of us, say that we can get the farmer in Tharaka-Nithi, Wajir, who is doing livestock, the farmer who is growing macadamia in Makueni, Mboni, who is growing tea, who is growing French beans. I've explained that we have people, and my uncle is doing French beans which are collected right there in Mboni. They're making 1,000 shillings a day, 7,000 shillings a week for the ordinary farmer who will not need the money that we politicians give them during elections. As I support this bill, Madam Speaker, I would like the Agriculture Committee of this Senate, because we have taken pride in saying that agriculture is a devolved function, that we do a little more, put in a little effort, speak more about these things that are going to help ordinary farmers. I'm told, and I know, that there are some members of the Senate here, somebody yesterday, like Dr. Kang'Ata'S spoke about, that from now on, we are going to speak about ordinary people. I said, what do you mean from now on? Where have you been? From now on, what? We should talk about ordinary people every day and all the time. Not because we want somebody we know to become a president. No, Let's speak about this because these are the people who elect us. The majority of the people who queue to elect me, 300,000 votes, are poor people. I should speak about them every day. So that then we can make a difference. 1,000 shillings, $10 a day to the ordinary people who elected you is more than the things that I'm hearing out there in the political circles about things that don't make logic, economic sense, and to some extent very ungodly about what to do with ordinary Kenyans. I support and congratulate Senator Kio for this very, very noble and very godly act. Thank you.
Senator Zani, Agnes, Philomena.
For bringing this very, very, very exciting and insightful bill. And you can tell from the way he moved the bill, the level of engagement and emotion that he has in terms of food security for this country, the passion to make things work, the passion for us to realize that we're an agricultural society. And sincerely, almost 60 years later, agriculture should be working for us. Agriculture is working for countries like Sweden. Agriculture is working for countries like Israel. And they are not even close to the potential that we have in Kenya regarding, food production. It was Senator Beatrice Elachi who brought the food security bill, I think in the last Senate session. And it talked about the same things. So I fear there's a lot of talking about this topic, but we're not progressing. You know, I've learned from you, Senator Wambua, through the speaker, that mung beans is ndengu. I'd actually just asked somebody before I came, what is this mung beans? Ndengu. Once I had ndengu, then everything came into context. Ndengu takes about only 3 months to grow. So within 3 months, you have, a very good source of protein, a very good source of vitamins as well, if very well combined in there, so everything context might be, but I think maybe Senator Wambua might want to look at that clause so that it just relates clearly to the application of this act. At what point does this application of this act comes? And putting in mind that he has disassociated it with the Crops Act. So when I went through clause 20 initially, Madam Speaker, I just wondered why. Why is he disassociating ndengu with other crops? And I think he explained himself as he was going on with this. And I suspect that's the way legislation is now going to ensure that a specific crop is taken care of, exhaustively. Like the tea bill, for example. Again, in the last Senate, 2013 to 2017, we had Senator Ongoro coming with the coconut bill. Because I think every crop has its own dynamic, and probably we're reaching a point where we are seeing that maybe, amalgamating all these issues into one legislation might not be very helpful. So when I had him present, I thought that was a good presentation. And, before I was asking myself why, what are the contradictions, why this crop and why not the other crop? But I think he explained himself very well. Then back to clause 18, very, very key, because it gives the cabinet secretary authority to be able to look at what the county governments are doing and make regulations. And I think this is the issue that was mentioned a bit earlier about the issue of regulations. That's well catered for already in clause 18. Without prejudice to the generality of subsection, the cabinet secretary may make regulations to provide for, and this is very, very key, the processing, the importation, exportation of mung bean on ndengu, the forms to be used in the application for registration, licensing, contracts, related activities. And sometimes when we're thinking about farming at the micro level of just planting and then harvesting, we don't think of the complexities that need to be taken into consideration in terms of making it, like a key driver of the economy and, mass production and moving it to a higher level, the process of application for registration, et cetera, et cetera. So that is well taken care of in that particular clause. And then back to clause 17, which is the penalty clause, where penalty is provided if liable, fine not exceeding 500,000, that's $500,000, or imprisonment. Through the speaker, Senator Wambua, I thought, as I was reading through, I thought, so what types of offenses might really be coming up here? You know, what type of offenses would these be? And what type of offenses, because yes, I saw that various bodies, I saw the authority, and I can imagine they might be related to professional impropriety, but again, also, there might be some other sort of fines. And I think this is where you might want to liaise very, very closely with the regulations. For example, maybe things like somebody coming, earlier on we had a motion on uprooting of houses, breaking of houses and uplifting and, demolition of houses. Maybe these are the sort of penalties we want to begin to think about. For example, that if somebody has grown their mug beans and then somebody comes and ban without any sort of, legal process or whatever it is, needs to be taken into such great punishment. So I would think it would be useful at this point for some sort of committee that will be working on this to think through, because when you think about agriculture and penalties, not quickly the mind picks on what could this be. From an organization at this institutional level, it comes across very, very easily. But from a sort of generalized level, in terms of what is expected to happen, that really infringes. But I think the bill is very, very systematic, very, very well thought out. The various parts, responsibilities of national and county governments, I think contextualizes this bill within Constitution 2010 and quickly allocates the roles for national and county. On the other paper, Madam Speaker, I have the Cooperative Act Amendment Bill, which is doing the same thing. And this is how we are regularizing most of our laws to ensure that the national component is put into place and also the county component is put into place. The regulatory provisions have been put, and then the miscellaneous provisions have been put. Very clear definitions have been given about the authority so that there's no confusion. This is the authority, Agriculture and Food Authority, established under Section 3 of the Agriculture and Food Authority Act. Very, very key. Clause 3 is very, very important for this bill because it then just really lays the framework for what this bill wants to do. Provide a framework for the coordinated implementation of national policies and strategies on development or regulation of ndengu industry, of Omang bean industry. So that sort of lack of coordination, that sort of lack of development, sort of lack of regulation that exists at the moment is probably what is contributing to facilitate and develop framework to regulate and provide the development of this very key, very important seed, promote productivity, facilitate introduction of modern mung bean farming techniques. Again, they're very, very critical, and provide a framework for implementation of effective marketing strategies. I think this is very, very important because I know for most farmers, it's very, very easy to grow, and that's where people get discouraged. I'll give you the example from Kwale County and also Kilifi County. If you went to those counties in December, there was a lot of, for example, mangoes that are growing. This was the season for mangoes. When it is the season for pineapples, lots of pineapples that come on the fall. And then what happens? People go with these fruits along the roads. People are buying at the cheapest prices possible. The fruit is rotting after all in the farm, so you really have no option but to actually bring this and try to sell it off. And literally, farmers are really coming and saying, just buy. And of course, as much as you love mangoes, you also have a limitation to how many you can buy at that particular moment. But we have had the case of Makueni County, for example, where they've been able to start industries, and also Coast Development Authority at one point came up with factories. These were fruit factories, so they were finding innovative ways, for example, if it is mangoes, make fruit juices. And I think also for this mang beans for Senator Wambua, there are silos that are very, very good for storing food. And we saw this, I think, in Qatar, in the experience of case studies for Qatar. We saw this in cases like Dubai. They have silos and silos of maize and beans and everything else. So mang beans might not be a product that gets quickly, devalued in terms of the value chain, But when there isn't a proper way to store, to make sure that it's been put in silence, or to make sure there's value addition, and I think this is another area Senator Wambua might want to delve into, looking at value addition and the value chain.
Order, Senator Zani. Senator Zani, you will have a balance of 3 minutes when this matter comes next in the order paper. Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned to tomorrow, Thursday, 11th February 2021 at 2:30 p.m.